All right, welcome back to the Comic Rundown, brought to you by The Comic Den. I'm your host, Ace Knuckles. You can find me at The Comic Den on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also pick up merch. We have merch now. It's on teespring.com /store/The Comic Den. I know it's a long name, but right now we just have like Magnus stuff, which, by the way, this will go up in a couple of days. But my comic book, Magnus the Brave, is on Kickstarter. Right now we're fully funded, plus some. But we've got some cool stretch goals coming. So if anybody's interested, go to Kickstarter.com and then just search Magnus. I'm joined today by Brittany. Thanks for coming. You've already said you don't really want people to find you anywhere. So nobody go looking for Brittany. For those of you out there just joining us for the first time, let me explain what we do here. First, I read some awesome comics, then introduce said comics to some awesome people. Then we just talk about the awesomeness on camera. Just a reminder, folks, I am not a comic historian or an expert on Batman. I'm just a guy who pretends to be. So, Brittany, did you enjoy the comic?
I did. I'm not big into Batman. I always thought he was one of the lesser heroes, but I did enjoy the story. I thought it was super crazy and kind of creepy and dark at times.
Why do you think he's one of the lesser heroes?
I mean, if you compare him to like Aquaman or Wonder Woman or, people who have actual powers, he just kind of is the rich guy.
Isn't that what makes him awesome though?
No, I don't like
the fact that
people.
the fact that he can do all this without having powers.
Yeah, well, if he didn't have money, could he?
No.
Mm-hmm.
That's also the point.
So he's just a regular rich guy with toys.
What I'm surprised is that there aren't more actual rich people doing this. It wouldn't take that much.
I don't want to die, though. If I have all this money, I'm not going to go... I would be selfish. I wouldn't try and put my
That's true, but you would think out of all the millionaires and all the billionaires that have ever existed since Batman, that at least one of them would have tried it. Right?
Maybe.
I mean, the odds are... Now, obviously, you're not going to have like some of the technology that Batman's got, but... Even still. I also think that being a vigilante wouldn't be as accepted as it is in the comic books. I mean, he's got Gordon working with him, and they kind of look the other way. But they'd probably come down a lot harder on somebody who's doing it in real life. But, I don't know. So, let's see, where am I? So, what is your history with comics in general?
Pretty slim. I had some comics from my brother and my dad that I stole and read. I'm more into the movies, I guess, because that's what's popular right now, and it's fun to sit there and see them actually doing stuff. It's nice to stare at the nice looking people.
No reading. No reading. Don't have to read. Yeah, well, I think that's one thing. It's kind of a double-edged sword. A lot of comic book fans, they like the movies, but they also hate that all of a sudden the thing that they've liked for so long is popular. Mm-hmm. It's kind of what hipsters do, where it's like, oh, I liked it before it was cool.
Yeah.
And so you have all these longtime comic book fans who are like, you're not a real fan, you just like the movies. Which is, I mean, it might be true, but in my mind... I think it's awesome that comics are starting to make it mainstream, and that
more people in.
Yeah, more people are in. It's not like an exclusive club, but also, I think especially like today, you don't necessarily have like the stigmatized comic book nerd. Mm-hmm. Like it's very accepted to be a superhero fan, whereas, I mean, what stereotypical '90s bully would pick on people who read comic books. So it's weird to see that shift, and all because we started making movies.
Yeah, the movies help. I like the movies because it's been hard to try and find like a comic. I guess I don't know where to start. Like if I wanted to get into Wonder Woman, do I need to go all the way back and try and find the original one that came out, or there's so many different versions and people take so many different runs. It's like it's kind of overwhelming if you're just trying to get in. Whereas I could just go buy the movie ticket and watch them there.
So one thing that helped me kind of get back in, because it was probably 6 years ago that I started getting back into comics from whenever I was a kid, and I ran into the same problem. I was like, I don't know where to start, and so I went to the comic book store and I started looking for number ones. Just whatever number one you had, because that's a starting point somewhere. Mm-hmm. And then I would just work out from there. But I found some people on YouTube. Comics Explained is a great page to go to, and he does origin stories. So he'll pick a character and he'll just explain the entire history of that character, or he'll pick a series, kind of like what we're doing, and he'll do, an explanation of these 6 comics, and he'll talk about it. So it's just a good way of, getting all that information real quick. And then you do feel more comfortable jumping in and stuff like that. So
yeah, I would love to jump into the comic world. It's just trying to find a place to go, get the books, or...
Yeah, it gets expensive too, so be careful.
Yeah, I noticed that. Amazon, I tried to look for this book, and I was like, ooh.
Yeah, ever since I started doing this, I've really started picking up trades, which is what that is. It's just 6 issues bound into one cover. And some people are really proud of them. So, I think one of those books, people are trying to get like $25 for it. But if you get used, acceptable, it might be a little beat up, but all you're doing is reading it. It's not like you're collecting it to make money. And it just makes it a lot easier. So you don't have to go to this comic book store and search for a number 3, and then you need a number 1, and then you have to get the number 5. So you don't have to piecemeal it all together, because that'll get even more expensive than what you'd pay for a trade sometimes. So, yeah, I think with things like Amazon, it's made comic book buying a lot easier. I do hate the strain that it puts on comic book shops, but that's just kind of how it goes.
Yeah, do we even have any left other than, what is it, Prairie Dog?
We've got Prairie Dog. We've got Wizards Asylum, which is right up on 31st and Seneca. It's right behind Dillon's. We've got Hero Haven, Hero Haven, Heaven, one of the two. And they just moved out east. They were in that shopping center right at 21st and Tyler. But yeah, now they've moved out east. And then we've got Vintage Stock, which is set up in the malls.
The mall one, yeah. I go to that one. Prairie Dog, that was from when I was little. We used to go get our Pokemon cards there.
That one's been there forever. And it does pretty good. I always see people in there. What's cool is these places have started expanding quite a bit. And so, my wife's walking around. We have very squeaky floors, so just ignore that. But yeah, they've started expanding into gaming, tabletop games and stuff like that. And so every Saturday, Prairie Dog, you can rent out the tables that they have, and they'll just have people in there playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon or Magic the Gathering. It just depends on what kind of games you want to play. Which I think it's really cool that you're also seeing more nerd stops kind of open up, Headshots. Have you ever been over there? Mm-mm. Okay, so it's just this bar, and on one side they have just hundreds of games, board games, card games, stuff like that. You pay $5. You can play any game in that building all day if you wanted to. And then on that same side, they've got all these tables set up, and then they have retro games. So Sega Genesis, NES, Super Nintendo. I think they have an Atari set up. They have some Wii's, Nintendo 64s.
The 64, no, that's mine.
Yeah, I don't think they have a Dreamcast. I don't think they have a GameCube. But then on the other side, they've got couches wrapped around these big pillars, and around the pillars are TVs with Xbox, Xbox One, Nintendo Switches, Wii U, stuff like that. So, and that is covered in the $5. So as long as nobody's playing it, you can just hop on, play all day if you wanted to. I don't know if there's a rule that you have to buy food, but
I mean, probably.
yeah.
I mean, I would just.
It wouldn't. It would be a dick move if you just paid. Here's $5. I'm gonna hang out all day drinking water. But they also have like trivia games. Like we did a superhero trivia one time, and we came in second place. And then we went back to do it again, and it was all just movie trivia, and nobody knew anything about it. We're like, this is dumb. Well, I'm just bad at, like, they said, who's the actor that played this? And
we don't know the name.
Yeah, I don't know actors or anything like that.
Just know what they look like.
So, who's your favorite character and why?
In this story?
In general.
In general?
Comics in general.
Oh, that's tough. Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman. Why?
Because, one, I'm a woman, so, you know, I have to choose a woman.
Okay.
I just think she's super badass, and she's honest, and thinks of others, and is everything we should try to be.
How have you heard... Where'd my pen go? Okay, no pen. Have you heard the theory that Wonder Woman is a lesbian?
I wouldn't be surprised. Growing up on a planet or a world of all women, I mean...
Yeah, but then...
Oh, look, I even have my Wonder Woman. See?
Yeah, see, there you go. So, my only point of contention about that is, one, there's a lot of stories about her falling in love with dudes. Two, if you grew up on an island where there were no men, wouldn't that mean you'd be more likely to be asexual? Because all they're built to do, the only reason they were created, because they weren't born, they were created.
Warriors.
The only reason they were created was to defend that island and the stuff on that island. So it'd be like if I created a robot and then be like, oh, and now you're gay. I mean, it'd have to be something that was programmed into them because, again, they weren't born, they were created. So, also the timing of it was... I mean, it was right around when the movie came out, and there's a bunch of stuff going on in the news, and people want to... I think it was more of a marketing ploy, which, if it works, it's really smart. But for all those comic book fans, people are real upset about it. I couldn't care one way or the other. I've never been... I don't think I've ever read a Wonder Woman comic. It just...
I mean, I guess I haven't either, but I can't find them.
Yeah, I mean, I've read comics with her in it, and I've enjoyed her character when it was in, like, the Justice League, or if she showed up somewhere else. But as far as just, like, a Wonder Woman comic, I don't think I've ever read one. But again, I don't really know where to start. I don't know what good stories there are.
I looked into her, trying to find her origin when the movie came out. That's what really kind of sparked my interest. And it's just been so hard to find anything. And then if you find... Like, I found something. I don't know if it was one of the original ones. But the artwork on it was just so... And her, like, costume is just so cheesy looking.
That'll happen to me, too. If I'm reading a comic and the art is not... I don't want to say it sucks, because obviously they're good enough to do art for DC. But if it's not my taste, then I'm just completely taken out of it. There's a Green Lantern story, and I've been following Green Lantern ever since this reboot that they've been doing. I'm really into it. And then they put a whole new creative team on it. And the writing's okay. I'm giving it 6 issues to see how it turns out. But the art is so distracting. Like, it's really cool, and if it was just a picture, I'd be like, oh, wow, there's a lot of detail, it's really cool, it's kind of, like, crazy colors.
But it's taken away from the story.
It is completely distracting. And so I'm just completely taken out of it. I'm not, I don't know, I'll probably end up dropping it after.
That's how I was with the Wonder Woman that I found. I was like, oh my gosh, this is... But then you have to think, this was made so long ago, that was one of the originals that...
Right.
This is how it was.
So good starting place would be New 52. So anything that like Wonder Woman, New 52, Volume 1. That's the official reboot.
Mm.
So what happened was Barry Allen went back in time to save his mom. He went back, saved his mom, changed everything. Whenever he came back to the present time and everything was changed, that's called Flashpoint. So Wonder Woman and Aquaman were fighting each other, destroying the world as they went along.
That would be a cool fight to watch, though.
Bruce Wayne's dad became Batman because Bruce was the one that died in the alley. And then I don't know how much of it I want to give away just in case you want to read it, but there's a bunch of other twists and turns in that one.
Sounds interesting.
So then he went back and let his mom die. Like ran back in time, let his mom die. And that was supposed to reset everything. Well, whenever he got back, things were different. And New 52 was supposed to be a brand new, fresh starting point. There had only been superheroes for 5 years. And that's where you jump in. So Batman's there, but so they're not retelling the origin of Batman. You don't have to go through all that. But Batman's there. He's been there for 5 years. And then that went pretty well for a little while. And then people started hating it because they changed a lot. Like, a lot of things got switched around. Superman wasn't with Lois Lane anymore. He and Wonder Woman got together.
Which I could see.
And then people hated that.
Well, they're both gods. I mean, what's her name? Lois Lane will eventually die, and then what is he going to do?
Find Wonder Woman. So then, after everybody started hating those stories, they said, okay, we're going to reboot again. And everybody just kind of rolled their eyes. But they said, okay, Dr. Manhattan from the Watchmen universe, as Barry was running back through the time stream after he had fixed everything, Dr. Manhattan started changing things. And so that's why everything was different. And that's when Rebirth starts. So Rebirth is just a continuation of New 52. But Rebirth is way better. And they also fixed the whole Superman Lois Lane thing. It's a little complicated if you wanted to dive into that one. But yeah, the Wonder Woman, I think, is pretty straightforward.
I could get into that. The Flash, that's my brother's favorite character. And I don't know, maybe in the comics he's better, but in the movie, super annoying.
I loved him in Justice League.
Kind of in the way, like you don't really do anything.
He's a kid.
He's just fast, and then you're not strong.
He hasn't learned how to use the Speed Force yet.
In the way.
He's got to learn how to use the Speed Force. Yeah, in the comics, especially in Rebirth, the Flash Rebirth comics, some of the best writing ever. Some of the best villains ever too.
See, I like the villains.
Yeah, that was the main problem that I had with the show on WB or CW now.
Oh, the Flash, his series.
Yeah. It's just that all of his villains, all of his main villains, I mean, he had one every episode or whatever. All it was this person's faster than me. So to beat him, I just have to be faster. I'm like, well, that's dumb.
Yeah.
That's very lazy writing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I said, New 52 is a great place to jump on. Rebirth is a great place to jump on. And then if you want to, you can just work your way back. But they've had a lot of reboots and stuff like that. So then what you do before that is you just look for specific stories. So.
I like Black Panther too, though. But that's, I guess, totally, that's Marvel.
Yeah. So do you prefer Marvel, DC?
I don't really, I can't really choose between them because I like things about each one of them. Mm-hmm. Marvel, I get my Black Pride on, and then DC, I get, all about the women.
That's funny. That's a very specific point of contention in the comic book world as well. Is that a lot of people feel that comics are starting to try to write about social stories or social issues instead of just writing about superheroes.
But isn't that what Stan Lee did for Marvel? Look at Captain America.
Yeah.
He came out
a lot of
fighting Nazis, so he's talking about that time period.
Right. But also Nazis are a pretty easy thing to get behind. I mean, that wasn't necessarily an issue that divided the country.
Yeah.
He was a little more gutsy whenever he created Black Panther. But I think also in the comic book world, it wasn't that big of a deal. Right? I mean, all we wanted was really good comics, and he gave us that, and it just so happened to be a black character. Now, just in the same way that most of the people that are upset about the social commentary in comics don't read comics. They just want to be pissed about something. All the people who are mad about a woman being Thor didn't even read the comic. If they would have, they'd have loved the story because it's an awesome story.
It was. I did enjoy that one.
Yeah, so I think you can do it right. Some of it, I've read a few that are just like, okay, this is a bit much. You're sacrificing writing skill for making a statement.
They're trying to include everybody. Make everybody feel welcome.
Well, it's not even that. It's just, I like this, and this is what this story is going to be about, and I don't care if it's clunky writing. You're going to get my point, and I'm going to beat you over the head with it.
Yeah, I couldn't get down with that. I want to read something that's entertaining and pleasing. Not this is your platform to try and push social issues.
So, before you read this story, what did you know about Batman?
I knew that his parents died, and that's kind of what kickstarted him into his lifestyle, and that he was trying to be a savior of Gotham, which is essentially hopeless. And his biggest villain, and one of my favorite villains, is the Joker. I think I like the Joker more than I like Batman.
Yeah, so, and in the New 52, the Detective Comics one, right here, so Detective Comics is a second set of Batman stories that kind of run parallel. The Joker encounters this guy called like the Doll Maker or something, and has him remove his face. And then the Joker then just like sutures it up, so it's just like pulled on his face.
Gross.
It's fantastic. And then after the Court of Owls stuff is over, you dive into some Joker stuff, and then a bunch of other stuff happens, and then you go back to Joker stuff, and it's some of the best storytelling ever. But yeah, just because his mouth has like these metal hooks in it that's pulling his face back, and you can kind of see the meat underneath the face. Yeah, it's
disgusting.
It's great. You'd love it. So, why does Batman resonate with so many fans? You said that you were never really into him because he's just a rich guy with no powers, but obviously he has staying power. Like, people love him. Why do they love him so much?
Maybe because he has no powers, and that's what they're clinging on to. Maybe because he has no powers, maybe they feel like, hey, if he can do this, then I can be a hero too. I don't have to be a god to be special. I can just be an average Joe.
My dad still claims that his superpower is his intelligence. And I keep telling him that's not a superpower. He's just smart.
Just smart, yeah.
So, back when Batman was created and the years after that, everybody wants to be a billionaire, right? I mean, it's cool to be a billionaire. You aspire to being rich and having Batman money. But we're seeing this shift today where billionaires are probably one of the most vilified groups in America right now. So how does Batman survive millennials?
Because he took his money and he did something worth a damn for other people other than himself.
But he beats people up.
He beats bad people up, and we're okay with violence as long as the person deserves it.
So he beats bad people up, but who determines whether he's bad? If he's beating drug dealers up, what if they just have no other option?
Well,
So he's beating up people who are trying to feed their family. He's trying to.
I don't think. He
And
goes
this is
after those
not only
lower
that,
level.
not only that, but this is a billionaire, a white billionaire, going down into the ghetto of Gotham, beating up people who are just trying to feed their family. It'd be real easy to spin it that way.
You could.
There's a story called White Knight, and it's like an alternate timeline, but Batman and the Joker are fighting. Batman shoves a bunch of pills down the Joker's throat that make him sane, and so the Joker then just starts taking these pills so he can stay sane, but then he starts fighting a legal battle against Batman, because it turns out that what people were doing was every time Batman would fight somebody, say he fought somebody in this neighborhood, all of a sudden there's a bunch of damage, but the property value just plummets. So then all these rich people would come in, they'd buy up the property, build it up, and then sell it at a profit. So people, like billionaires, are using Batman, and it turns out that Bruce Wayne's own company was like involved in this. And so it kind of does touch on that. But what were you going to say before that? About Bruce Wayne being a white billionaire beating up little ghetto kids.
I don't think I guess I wouldn't think him to go down into those. I figured he would let the police handle that, and he just handles the bigger cases. He doesn't really need to go down there. It's not his area.
Right.
He's more of the top of the line people.
Now, in the Detective Comics Rebirth, he has a whole Bat family. So he's got a couple of Robins, a Batwoman, this kid called the Signal, a bunch of other people. So like 6 or 7 people at any given time, and they all just kind of patrol Gotham. So, I mean, who knows what they're taking care of?
True. I don't think drugs are as bad as people want to make it
I mean,
seem.
they never really talk about it, but
that's kind of my stand on it. I don't think that's that big of an issue that people need to be worried about when we have tons of other things we could be tackling.
Yeah. The whole thing, though, is, I mean, being a vigilante is illegal. So how does what he's doing trump what everybody else is doing?
It shouldn't. If you are talking about justice and fairness and the law, if he's breaking it, he's just as wrong as the other person, but we have things that we're willing to accept. And that's how he's getting away with it.
And there's no checks and balance. It's just people he disagrees with. I mean, yes, typically they're very bad people. But we see in other comics that I'm reading that Gordon will disagree with him, and he still goes out and does whatever he's doing. Everybody else, based on the evidence that they see, everything's good, but then Batman goes in and does it anyway.
That's his privilege.
His Batman privilege?
Yes, that's his Batman privilege. I can do what I want, when I want, because I have the money and I'm white and no one's going to say anything anyway.
Yeah. So when you were growing up, you were into sports and all that. You weren't like the stereotypical jock, but I mean, you played basketball, stuff like that. When I was in high school, it was like right at the tail end of the jock versus nerd culture. Like I still saw it, but it wasn't nearly as, pronounced as in like movies and stuff. So was it like that when you were in school? Was it still like jocks versus nerds?
No, and that's why I think I have such a hard time connecting with all these people who talk about these issues is I have never seen anybody get beat up because they were reading a comic book or because they knew how to do math and
Yeah.
the jocks were this. That wasn't really a thing. It was kind of, hey, we're into this and they're into that, so
Yeah.
stay in your lane, we'll stay in ours. And
Segregation.
yeah, I mean, it essentially was. I mean,
Yeah.
that was you had all the black kids who did this kind of sport were together, and kids who played Yu-Gi-Oh and did all this kind of nerd stuff were over here, and everyone else just kind of had their own groups. It was more cliques when I was in high school, and of course, I never fit into any of them. I just was worried about how much we had to run at practice and what my mom was going to cook for dinner. That was my top priority. So I didn't see it. I kind of feel like if I would have seen somebody being bullied, I might have said something.
Right.
But I never saw any of that stuff. I mean, I also went to a school that was kind of mixed and everybody kind of kept to themselves.
I think you were right in the middle of that transition. Like I said, I was at the very tail end. I remember in one of my classes, some kid had his Yu-Gi-Oh cards out and he was doing something with them. And we were all doing our work or talking or whatever. And these people were making fun of him. And he told him to shut the hell up or something. And she came over and like dumped water all over his cards. And I'm like, you asshole. And so like we helped him clean them off and stuff. But even still, I think today though, it's just people hang out with whoever they're around and whoever they like.
Yeah.
And I think people are more apt to find that connection. So even if you're a jock and you have a class with somebody who's a nerd, you guys can find that thing that you can connect over. And there's not that I don't think there's that many cliques anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, you still have people that you dislike and people that you're going to make fun of for whatever reason. But it's not like a group of people that are one thing making fun of another group of people who are one thing.
Yeah.
It's just those guys are assholes. Let's make fun of them.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't.
Which is how it should be.
Yeah. In high school, I think I was always out of the loop because I was friendly with everybody. Like, if you weren't trying to punch me in the face, I could be cool with you.
Yeah.
I didn't mind. You want to talk stuff, that's fine. Because if you didn't come up and say, let's fight, you're not a problem to me. You're just somebody who just obviously knows they can't fight and knows better than to come this way with that.
Yeah.
But girls are just the worst. Love my black people, but black girls are specifically the worst at, we're not talking to that, be over there, I'm like, why? Because she's this and that. What does that have to do with you?
I'm going to leave that one alone. You can...
Yeah.
I'm not going to comment.
that was very much kind of the thing, as we're not talking to her. No, you're not talking to her, but I'm going to talk to whoever I want. That's why I could float around all these different groups because I was just kind of chill and.
Well, what I found is once you establish
who you are,
that you do you, people just let it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can hang out with even people that they dislike. But as soon as you get sucked into whatever kind of drama they're trying to have, then all of a sudden you're trapped.
I was not about that life. Right?
Yeah, I try to hang out with everybody. I mean I had people
cool.
that I disliked, but I feel like whenever you say, oh, I don't like these types of people, whether it's jocks, nerds, white kids, rich people, whatever, then you miss out on a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot of good conversation. Especially starting to do this, I've talked to a bunch of people, a bunch of different people. And through comics, I try to find something that you guys would enjoy, something that kind of speaks to you or something that you'd be into. But everybody, even people who aren't into comics, have really gotten into it and kind of found that connection. But they also bring their own spin to it.
Yeah.
So David, we do a Darth Vader series. I'm also doing a Darth Vader series with a huge Star Wars nerd. So it's kind of interesting to watch one where he reads through it one time, has it all memorized, and he's way into it. And then to then sit with David, who reads it and rereads it and analyzes it and thinks about it and comes from a different perspective. And we could probably be reading the same comic, and get two completely different episodes. We're reading two completely different comics, but yeah, it's just interesting how the different viewpoints make for just excellent conversation. I mean, me and David could sit down here for 5 hours if we didn't set ourselves to a time limit. But so, how did you feel about the DC movies?
They are not as good as Marvel. Wonder Woman, one of the best movies I've ever seen. Probably, you know, it's my bias. I'm a woman. I appreciated seeing a whole island of these badass women, you know, who can beat the shit out of anybody, and then to see such a standard for that. But the Batman vs Superman movie was the worst movie.
Really?
It's almost as bad as Avatar.
You didn't like Avatar?
I hated Avatar.
How do you even compare the two?
They were
Avatar is
boring.
lauded. Avatar's lauded as one of the greatest movies of our generation.
I wanted my money back. I was like, that was 3 hours that I'll never get back.
Avatar or The Last Airbender?
Avatar, the little blue people.
Oh my god. That's your comparison?
No. I'm just putting it down there on my level. Batman vs Superman.
Right, but
terrible.
you have to imagine that Avatar is up here in everybody else's opinion.
No, Avatar was crap in my mind. It was a bunch of people running around on this little world, and I couldn't get down. I kept trying, and everyone was talking about how great it was and the visuals and all the work they did. Great, not my movie.
I have the exact same feelings about The Godfather. I hate The Godfather.
I love The Godfather. I love
You want to talk about boring?
What?
Jeez, they spend 90% of that movie talking at a table. It is awful. But I get the same reaction that I just gave you for Avatar. There were things that I didn't like about Batman versus Superman.
It was super slow. It took a long time to get into it.
I thought it moved way too fast. Okay, so for comparison, it took 10 years for Marvel to get to their big bad. I mean, they showed him and mentioned him and stuff like that. DC tried to do it in 2 movies. I mean, you've introduced the Trinity, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, in the span of 2 movies. And then not only that, but you have Superman in his second movie die.
Yeah, did not get that.
They didn't do Doomsday right. Doomsday is supposed to be like the end all be all for Superman. That's why he kills him. So I think they didn't set up enough Superman to make that an emotional hurdle for us. What they should have done was saved Doomsday for after Darkseid. Doomsday is what you end Superman on. And then if you want to bring him back after that, you can, because there was, you know, the rise of the Superman and then Superman Returns and stuff like that. You can do that. But have us emotionally invested in the character. Don't give us a movie and then kill him.
Yeah.
Especially knowing that we're having a Justice League movie coming out. You've already announced it. We're making a Justice League movie that has Superman in it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you just completely took all of the drama out of it. And I don't think it was earned. But I also think that DC's learning from their mistakes. Aquaman was amazing.
Loved Aquaman. Oh man, that movie.
It was great. And see, for me, I put that up on par with Avatar.
No.
That's the one I compare it to.
I guess maybe because I'm...
Visually stunning.
Okay, the visual's fine. But like story and plot and meaning, I just felt...
Did you not like Dances with Wolves? You ever seen that movie?
That
No. It's Avatar's essentially Dances with Wolves, but with aliens.
I couldn't get into it, and I tried hard to get into it, and it was just like...
The weird part for me is that he was becoming sexually attracted to a giant blue cat lady. Like, that's what was weird for me.
It's a lot of weird things.
Well, I get it, but it was even before he had, like, turned into one of those things. I mean, he was using the, like, created body, but...
It was just weird. I do like all the shows that made fun of Avatar, though.
I really enjoyed it. I haven't watched it in a while. Now I'm gonna have to watch Avatar.
I would never watch that movie ever again.
So, speaking of movies, who's your favorite Batman actor?
Ooh. I don't know his name, but the guy before this Batman.
Christian Bale.
Yeah, I liked him.
Yeah, he was really good. See, and I really like Ben Affleck. I think he could have made a great Batman, but then he had to go to rehab, and now they've officially dropped him.
Aww.
Yeah,
Are
so...
they going to bring the other guy back then?
No, because that was a whole different story. I don't know. People keep mentioning, like, Nick Jonas's name, and I'm like, no. He keeps...
Jonas Brothers?
Yeah, the one that, like, shaved his head, and he's got, like, a darker complexion.
The one that looks good.
Well,
The
maybe.
underwear model.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't want him as my Batman, though.
I couldn't see him. Every time I see him, I think Disney Channel. Because
Yeah. Yeah, he's
that's
definitely...
where I saw him.
He's definitely in that lane now.
Oh,
He can
no.
never be Batman.
He
I don't
should
know
be.
who I would have... Because I went in hating the idea of Ben Affleck being Batman. And then I watched Batman versus Superman, and I was like, I like Ben Affleck as Batman. Like, he won me over, which might be why I liked Batman versus Superman so much. But, yeah, I don't know. It's just such an iconic character.
Yeah, you need somebody good.
Yeah. Well, what they really need to do is not worry about having Batman in any movies for at least 5 years. Let everybody forget what Ben Affleck looks like, and then you just put another character in. I mean, they did it with Rhodey in Marvel. They had what's his face from Hustle and Flow was Rhodey in the first Iron Man.
Oh yes, I
And then
loved him.
yeah, see?
Terrence Howard, and then
Yeah.
they got the other black guy, and I was
Yeah,
like,
Don Cheadle.
ugh, gross. One who took somebody who was like great, and then he brought him in, and then it was like,
Yeah, but Terrence Howard didn't want to play. He didn't want to play backup character.
well, get
He
over
wanted
yourself.
that. He wanted that Robert Downey Jr. money.
You know, well, and you are a black man in a white man's movie, so shut up and take your paycheck and give us
I
something.
don't
to
know
look
if it's
at.
like that. I think there's just a budget, and you want Robert Downey Jr., who is Iron Man. Robert Downey Jr. single-handedly saved Marvel. I mean, who else is going to be Iron Man and play it?
Yeah, as good as.
Right, he is Iron Man. He will forever be Iron Man.
I know him as Sherlock too.
He's Iron Man. I mean, he did a really good Sherlock, but he's Iron Man. Now, what I'm super excited about is there's a character called Riri Williams in the comics. I think she's from Detroit. Super smart, reverse engineered Iron Man suit in her garage. And then she became Ironheart for a short while. And I think they're continuing that storyline. I picked up Riri Williams #1. But there's rumors that Black Panther's sister is going to be her.
Really?
Because she's already super smart.
Yeah.
You can call her Riri without...
I did like her in the movie. I thought she was one of the better characters. Again, that's probably me being a woman and seeing so. And then seeing a black woman do anything is just gonna be off the charts for me. I think that's why I got down with Black Panther was you had this whole black culture that I've never got to see so
like
much
deep
of.
African culture.
I mean, all the warriors that protect Black Panther. I mean, that's real stuff. I mean,
When that was
messed up how they get there, but
it was real dangerous. The Black Panther movie was real dangerous. Not because you're putting black people in a movie or putting black people as a starring role. I think the Black Panther character is super easy to do. I think going that deep into African culture, if they were to mess anything up,
it'd be all over. Yeah.
yeah, you just imploded your entire movie. You could almost hear people's thumbs tuning up so that they could just blast it because they had messed something up. And I'm sure there are little things that were off, but if they would have done it wrong and offended somebody, then it would have just all been over.
This is a time period where anybody can be offended. You don't even have to. It could have been a white person who was offended about this black movie. You have no cultural ties to this, but you're going to be offended for this group of people who.
I also think, though, that so it's one thing if you get offended for another black person. And that's one thing I hate absolutely, is whenever somebody gets offended for somebody else. But if I'm watching Black Panther and a white person tells me how offended they are by Black Panther, I'm like, shut up. I don't care what you have to say. But if you were offended by Black Panther, and it might sound super racist and people are going to hate me and stuff like that, but I'd want to know why. I'm more interested in knowing why you were offended by it than why Bill over here is offended by it.
Bill has no reason. Bill can shut up.
Right.
We don't have ties to this culture. And seeing Black Panther kind of brought out my interest in the African culture and all their customs, and I started looking into just different things that they did, and they had so many true pieces in that movie, so it's just cool to research and see that they actually stuck to it. Well, I think it got a lot of, I don't know, saw a lot of black people walking around going like Wakanda.
Yeah, a friend of mine, he's a pastor. He just moved out to North Carolina, and after he saw it, he said he was going to do that as people walked into church.
I mean, it's something.
He's just gonna.
And I think that's what's cool about comics and movies. It can bring a group of people together. It can bring out this sense of pride, and it's so cool just to see kind of your culture and being biracial. I mean, I kind of flow in between whatever, but it was really cool to see such a big production put on for this community, especially in a time where I feel that we need this.
Well, and to do it in such a way that it makes you feel special, but then it doesn't alienate all the people who aren't from that culture. It makes us want to be drawn in rather than say, oh, well.
That's just a black movie.
Yeah.
You can't get into that. No,
yeah.
You can't.
I do think it's weird that they had one white guy.
Oh, and he was the little...
Yeah, he's the guy that played Bilbo.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, there's only one white guy in this movie. Like, why?
So you can feel like how black people feel when they go to a movie and there's one black character who's going to get killed off. It
was one thing, and I felt like they shoehorned it in. Like, so he got hurt, but then, like, we have to fly him back to Wakanda. Like, you have all of this technology. Why do you have to fly him anywhere?
Oh, do you have to save him?
Yeah, he's got to be in other movies, but... So, without giving too much away, what did you think about the comic as a whole, in general?
In general, I thought it was really good. I thought it was kind of dark and kind of made me feel a little paranoid at times. I like how it kept me guessing. I always thought, ooh, well, I just figured this out, and, you know, way off.
Yeah.
So I thought they did a really good job. I think the artwork was just, like, one of the best things about it. It was just so detailed.
It really upped the creepy factor, too.
Yeah.
It was really hard. Okay, so... Like, we work together, and it's really hard not to just, like, talk to you about it constantly. Because I know if we talked about it constantly at work, we wouldn't have anything to talk about here. But, yeah, it is super creepy. Like, the entire thing. And...
It's very dark.
Yeah, it kind of hits Gotham from that point of view. Which is funny because Batman talks so lovingly about Gotham.
Yeah.
So you have all of these words that are like, oh, you know, this is my city. I love this city. I'm going to protect this city.
No,
yeah.
Gotham is trash.
And so that was my first thing. Describe Gotham in 3 words or less. That's how the story opens.
I did like that piece. I thought that was really cool and creative.
So describe Gotham in 3 words or less.
Gotham is creepy. It's not a place I would ever want to be in. I think it's a city that's essentially run by a bunch of creepos.
Yeah, I said Gotham is heavy. I mean, you can just see it. It's a weight on everybody's shoulders, and it just beats people down. It grinds them into criminals. I mean, it's essentially what it is. If you're not well off enough to not live in a bad part of town, then what do you have to do?
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely think that Gotham is supposed to be an algorithm for one of our cities.
I felt that too. Like, I thought maybe.
Or like a
Detroit.
few cities, like Detroit with some Chicago thrown
Yeah.
in with.
Oh, Chirac.
Yeah. I mean, it. But even still, when you think of Chicago, you don't necessarily think of always dark, kind of wet, dead people all the time. And I know
I kind of do.
that's people's life. I mean, people do live in Gotham essentially, but there are also bright parts to it. But Gotham, all of it seems
kind of.
yeah, all of it seems scary.
I don't want to be here.
Yeah. So why does anyone live there?
They must have no other option. That's the only reason you would stay in a shitty situation, is there is jack shit else for you.
There's not any like tiny suburbs that are cheap living about 20 miles outside of Gotham.
I don't think there would be. I think these people are here because they have no other option, or maybe they think they're about that lifestyle and that's they want to get down in. So.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, there's some crazy stuff happening. I've read stories where they're like shipping dead bodies, stuff like that. I mean, just some of the stuff that people are into. It's not. It's never just drugs.
Yeah, it's always.
It's never drugs
stuff.
or guns. It's always, warp devices. Yeah.
Mutated bodies.
So it opens up with Batman. He's in Arkham Asylum and he's fighting all of these villains. They're all lined up, getting ready to fight him. Why does Batman smile at the prospect of fighting all these people?
It's his life. This is what he's into. This is his home. This is his thing, and this is what he loves. So he thinks he's doing some great deed to somebody, so he's taking enjoyment out of it, and this is his routine, I guess.
What it made me think of, okay, so I think police officers are necessary to a functioning society. I don't necessarily want my police officer to enjoy writing tickets.
Yeah.
Or arresting me, or whatever police officers are doing. So it's whenever you take those constraints off and he's just beating the shit out of people, do we want a superhero who enjoys beating the shit out of people?
So long as he keeps it on the bad people, then I guess he can tiptoe around it.
But he decides who's bad people. What if I'm just and we've seen this too, I'm just a guy that works at a company and I know a passcode, and then he comes to me and he's like, you're going to give me that passcode. And I'm like, I can't. So then he dangles me off the side of a building. I mean, I'm not a bad guy, am I? I'm just, yeah, I know something.
You're doing your job and following what you're supposed to do. I don't know. So it makes Batman kind of in-between character.
Yeah, especially in Scott Snyder's writing, he definitely toes that line. So why does he enjoy violence? What about him has made him enjoy the violence? Just being brought up in death and misery.
My parents got killed in front of me, and that kind of set the pathway that my life kind of took off. He's very traumatized.
Isn't this the kind of stuff we try to teach out of our kids, though? Getting past that trauma.
And I think that's Batman's issue, is he never got over it, and he's coming from this place of trauma, and he doesn't want anybody else to have to feel like that. So maybe that's why he's so stronghold on trying to be the savior, and it's not really what he probably ought to be doing.
Yeah. So, do you think there's any validity in answering that Gotham is question with the name of a villain?
Yes. I would say Gotham is the Joker.
You really think so?
I think so. I think of Gotham, I think of Batman, and I go straight to the Joker. Because he's top dog, he's crazy, he's twisted, he's dark, and that's kind of what Gotham really is. And that's kind of, in the movies, the Joker, kind of takes hold of all of the criminal underground, and guess what? Right. You all work for me now, and if not, cut you to pieces.
When he has no real purpose,
Yeah.
The only goal of Joker is to cause chaos. Not just cause chaos, but cause chaos so that Batman can come in and then fix it so that he can cause more. And it's just this back and forth that the Joker loves for whatever reason. So in the fight, when the Joker joined the Batman, what went through your head?
I was like, oh snaps, we're gonna see the Joker come in, and I was like, why is he fighting with Batman? I thought he was gonna come in and stab him, but
Were you into it? Were you into them teaming up, fighting together?
I kind of was for a second. I was like, so we have Top Dog Criminal and Batman working together to probably put in some checks and balances for the rest of the lesser villains.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was super creepy how he came out. It started with that smile. And
Yeah.
I was like, ugh.
Just wait until you see him without a face.
Oh,
It's going to be great.
that's
You're
gross.
going to love it. So, that's the thing, too, though, with the Joker, is that you never really know where he's coming from or why he's doing what he's doing. But we also find out that this isn't the Joker.
Yes.
That it's some sort of nanotech mask thing.
Which is
that-
more of Batman's money.
Yeah. More of his privilege.
Mm-hmm. I was disappointed not to see the Joker in this, though. I expected him to be
Mm-hmm.
something.
Yeah, they're building.
Oh.
This is the first time the Court of Owls has ever been introduced. So it's developing. But yeah, all of these are fantastic. So Batman has crazy awesome tech, right? He's rich. He can do whatever he wants, have whatever he wants developed. Why doesn't he share any of this technology with Jim Gordon or the GCPD?
Because he's greedy. He wants to be the hero. He wants to be the savior. This is his city, so why would he share with anybody else? He can't trust anybody else. We know that police officers.
So it's a trust issue.
Yeah.
And GCPD is known to be corrupt.
Yeah, you can buy anybody. You can buy a police officer, so why would I give them this technology when they could turn around and either sell it or misuse it?
Right. That makes sense. So again, though, it's Batman assuming that he's above the law, that he's better. Which, it's kind of one of those things where I trust the gun a lot more if I'm holding it than if you're holding it.
Yeah.
Because I know myself. And I think that's kind of what it is. But it is, especially since, again, reading that White Knight story. It's one of those things where how much would it help versus how much would it hurt if Batman were to share the technology?
I think it would hurt.
You think it would hurt more than it helped?
Yeah. If he gave it to that squad, I think it would definitely cause more problems for him. I mean, because if you look at Batman, billionaire, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Could leave Gotham and go anywhere else.
Right.
So his heart is obviously in the right place, that he wants to do good with what he has. He's trying to make a difference. I think that's why we kind of let him slide with some of the stuff he does, because it's essentially for the greater good.
Right. So whenever I talk about Batman, I try to talk about him and Bruce Wayne like they're two different people. And it's been said before that Bruce Wayne is actually the disguise for Batman rather than the other way around. Batman is the real character. Bruce Wayne is the disguise that he puts on. So is being Batman an addiction for Bruce Wayne?
I'd say yes, because it's obviously interfering with his daily life. There's so many other things he could be doing, and yet he's so tied and invested and can't get over this.
Mm-hmm.
I could see it being an addiction. And then, I mean, he's also getting hurt by it. So, now his physical state is in danger. His mental state is in danger. Not good for him on any plane.
And he rationalizes it by saying that it has to happen. That he has to be Batman.
He doesn't have to. Maybe he doesn't know what else to do.
Yeah. So before the facial recognition bit, where he put like the contact in his eye and it started saying facial recognition, Tim
that was some
Drake,
crap.
whatever. Uh, did you know who Tim Drake or Damian Wayne or Dick Grayson or any of those people were?
I did not. I thought Batman or Bruce Wayne was being a jerk and calling somebody a dick. I was like, damn. Okay.
No, okay, so Dick Grayson was the original. He was the original Robin. Then you had Jason Todd, which everybody hated. Jason Todd died, came back, became the Red Hood. Then you had Tim Drake, who then just became Red Robin. And then you have Damian Wayne, who is Bruce Wayne's son, who's now Robin. So that's who all those people are. Did you think that it was a smooth way to introduce those people, or do you think it was kind of heavy-handed with like the face recognition thing?
I think with the face recognition, it kind of threw me off. Like, this is such like an invasion of privacy, and I kind of stuck to that. Like, this is just so wrong on so many levels, and I was kind of stuck on that. But it was cool because it showed me who everybody was.
Yeah.
And if you've never been into this kind of series, then
Right.
it helps explain who people are, and it lets you go look up and make sure you know who's
Yeah.
who.
So it's kind of like in the Dark Knight movies where he tapped into everybody's cell phone
Yeah.
using them to ping around. You think that's what the contact lens is?
Yeah. Just one giant invasion of privacy.
Isn't that what like the Google glasses were supposed to be? Like
glasses.
Yeah, the glasses that you could bring up like your Facebook and shit like that, and it would see people's faces, and you could pull up their Facebook or whatever.
I don't think we need that. As an adult, I don't want to walk up and somebody know exactly
somebody's
who I am.
Googling you
Yeah.
as you're talking.
No, I that's where technology starts to get into that. I don't know that we need to go that route.
Yeah, I thought that this comic book handled a lot of the exposition really well. What some people do in like movies or comics or whatever is, so you have these three characters, you've never read Batman, so you have no idea who they are. They're just there. And then all of a sudden somebody walks up and then Batman introduces these three people, and that's how you figure out who they are. I thought the facial recognition thing was a really easy way to let you know who they are. Like, oh, I just have to get this primed and ready, and then all of a sudden you know who these people are, without going into like a backstory or anything like that. But yeah, it is that line, because is there anything illegal about me? I mean, you introduce yourself to me. I can get on my phone right there while we're talking and Google you. So what's the difference if I do it with my phone where you can see it, or my contact lens does it?
I don't think you need to Google me either way. I told
Right.
you who I was. So
It might be
it
might be creepy,
Yeah.
but is there anything wrong with it?
Yes, if it's creepy, it's wrong.
I don't know if that's how it works.
You're invading my privacy. Maybe I didn't want you to know my life story.
But it's already
all
stuff that you've put out. I mean, things don't just get on the internet. That
police records do.
Well, that's true, but that's public record.
Which is no one's business. Which
Okay.
Infringing on my rights as an individual.
Is it a right though?
Yes.
A right to privacy?
Yes.
Do you have a right to privacy?
I do. It's my life.
Where is
It's
that in the
my-
Bill of Rights?
Well, they are a bunch of white men who didn't have to worry about somebody
Googling them. Okay, so who has the most? What did I say? Who has? I wrote that wrong. Who does more good? Who does the most good in Gotham? Batman or Bruce Wayne?
It's Bruce Wayne's money. So I'd go with him. It's his money.
Well, technically, Bruce Wayne bought all the tech for Batman, but Okay, so where we're coming from is Bruce Wayne has this idea to rebuild Gotham. Get rid of the derelict buildings, rebuild it, cheap, affordable housing in some places, building complex in other places, industrial parks here, whatever. Just rebuild Gotham.
Great, which it desperately needs.
Right. But Batman has all the tech, takes care of the bad guys. Who, in your opinion, does the most good?
I'd still say Bruce Wayne because he's building. Batman, if the police did what they were supposed to do and weren't so corrupt and crooked, might be able to keep a handle on the city. But if you take the money and you take the time to invest and build something up,
Mm-hmm.
then I think people can get on board to that. And they're like, hey, he's trying to turn this around. Oh, I can go work here, or I can afford to be here, so then my life can change.
Right.
And if socially we make things better for everybody, then I think everything else kind of falls in line and will dwindle down. And maybe crime won't be as much because a guy who was a drug dealer can now go afford a decent house for his family and can get a better job.
Yeah, there's always that idea. I think that's always the plan when
Doesn't
people
work
start
out.
talking about it. But then we see, in places like San Francisco, San Diego, New York, stuff like that. These people come in, they want to build up new businesses, and they want to move into these places and flip them and fix them up and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, everybody gets mad at them because of gentrification. You're coming in, you're making everything nicer, which makes the value go up, which then makes it more expensive to live here. Like every time
True.
tax season runs around, I want all of my neighbors to have real shitty houses, at least on the outside. Because whenever they do an evaluation of our neighborhood, if they say, oh, this is an upcoming neighborhood, the value goes up on my house, which means my taxes go up, which means my mortgage goes up. So I want a really quiet, safe, shitty neighborhood.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. Being in the house that we're in, it's in an older community, and it's still very nice. But I mean, I'm the kind of person where I want you to think I have nothing,
Yeah.
so you don't break in. But then on the inside, my shit is decked out.
So, if Bruce Wayne does what he wants to do and builds up all this new stuff, won't that raise the cost of living? And aren't you then just displacing all those poor people that you're trying to help?
If he comes in and he does like a lower income thing where like Section 8, where we can put you in something that's pretty nice and you pay your portion and we'll take care of the other, then I think it would be okay, because they still get to be in something nice and they're still working towards it. It's not just handed to them. They still
Right.
have to do their part, which is kind of my whole thing is I want people to put their best effort out and get what they've earned.
Right.
And we can have programs that, help guide you along until you get on your way, but I don't know, I think it needs to be checked so that way people don't abuse it.
So you build all this Section 8 housing, all these Section 8 apartments or whatever. Won't the shitty element that's still in that area just make the brand new shiny building shitty?
I think that's where maybe education comes in, is we have this, can't just build something nice and take a person who has lived this kind of lifestyle and expect them to just,
Right.
oh, cool. There needs to be an education piece that goes in, and this is a social way. This is how we expect people to act. This is
Yeah.
how you should be doing things, and now hopefully we'll find you a job, and hopefully you take
Yeah.
off in that kind of way.
The only way to make people not do illegal things is to give them something better to do, right? I'm not going to sell drugs because I can go train for 6 months and then get a job where I'm making twice as much of that. I mean, if you want people to stop doing illegal shit, make it more profitable to not do illegal shit. And it's not a popular opinion. I mean, it's a fairly simple one, but then people don't necessarily want to do that because that costs money. Also, I mean, it's just hard. It's hard to get kids to understand when they're young that, hey, just because it's quick money does not mean that it's going to be best for you in the long run.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of hard to argue against it when you need money now.
Yeah. They're so focused on surviving right now that they're not worried about down the line. I'm not worried about tomorrow if I can't eat right now. There's no point.
Yeah. Well, and that's the conversation that I've had with people about child labor laws. You know, it's one thing to say in America to say, oh, it's terrible for a 10-year-old to work. But then when you require that 10-year-old to work just so that that 10-year-old won't starve or the rest of your family won't starve, when they're a contributing member of the family, and you're just saying, no, we have to take that away. But what else are you offering in order to make up for that lost income?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think, in a perfect world, children wouldn't have to work. But we don't live in a perfect world.
We'll never be perfect.
And so to say that, you know, our values are the values that need to be all across the globe and everybody has to hold them and we have to make laws based on that, well, that's stupid. How many families now would benefit if their child could go work somewhere? And I'm not talking 10 years old, but what's the legal age that you can start working now? 14.
At Brahms, and it's restricted.
So how many of those families depend on that 14-year-old kid bringing home a paycheck?
I mean, I'm sure there would be a lot of people that would benefit from their kid working, and at least, you know, maybe not paying for the entire family, but maybe if you just could afford your stuff, or like if you want anything extra.
Well, and I'm just saying right now, as we speak, I guarantee there are hundreds, if not thousands, of 14-year-old kids working, and they bring home the paycheck, and that paycheck does not go to anything that they want. It goes right to buying groceries, paying bills, stuff like that.
We see that at our school. We got kids who work.
Raising their brothers and sisters.
And trying to help take care of mom.
Right.
I mean, it's a shitty situation that, yes, we don't want anybody to be in. But then this is where I think education is important, but maybe only important for some people. Like, it needs to be an option, or if a kid does need to work, then we need to work with their schedule to where maybe they have, like, they can come in and do online stuff, and they're still getting their education, but they still can work.
Right.
Provide.
Because imagine that 14-year-old that the family depends on that paycheck, and then say, we're raising the legal age of working to 16. Well, now they don't have that paycheck.
They don't have anything.
Now they're out.
And now now they hit survival mode where now, well, shit, we may have to sling something real quick just to get by for right now. Yeah, and I don't know, it's crazy. And there's not really a right answer. So you want to, you know, Bruce Wayne wants to build up Gotham. He wants to make it nice and shiny and new. But then, you know, he kind of glosses over what else are we going to do to make sure that this nice, shiny newness lasts and that it spreads. You got to get in on the ground level and start young. Yeah. Preventative care. Best care. Get them while they're young. Get them hooked into the idea this is how things should be, and down the road it'll take care of itself. Right. We also see that Bruce Wayne has some other motives when it comes to building all these places. Yeah, he also has like security detail that can spy and do what he wants. He wants bat bunkers built throughout all these buildings. So that he can have access all over the city instead of just in his bat cave. He doesn't need access. Again, get your police force together and step to the side and let them handle it. But they're all corrupt. Mm-hmm. So what do you do in that situation? Get out of Gotham and go find some people and bring them in. My question about this whole thing is that Bruce Wayne is not building these buildings by hand. Like, he's not going out and building these things single-handedly. So if you're building bat bunkers, somebody's going to know about it. Yeah. What do you do with those people? Probably kills them. Batman doesn't kill people. So what do you do? I mean, how do you keep it a secret?
Oh yeah,
He pays them off.
here's the blueprints. We just have to have this giant void in the building right here with, you know, you'd have to explain it somehow. And as many things as Bruce Wayne has his hands in, that means there are tons of people who know he's Batman.
Yeah.
Or at least know he's Batman adjacent.
Maybe he just keeps the same team for everything. It's all hush.
He's told 5 people
Yep, and
what's
that's
going
what we're
on.
going to do.
Okay, so also, is he enacting some sort of shadow government throughout the city with all these bat bunkers?
Yes. It's his own little government that he's got set up. One-man team, well, other than, what's his name?
He's got the Bat family. So he's got Batwoman, Robin, Dick Grayson, Red Hood.
Yeah, he's got his own little squad going on.
Right, his own little militia.
Yeah.
So is that okay?
No, it shouldn't be. But he's getting away with it.
Why does he get away with it, though?
Because he's doing something for the greater good, and anytime you can say, well, I'm doing this to benefit everybody, people will kind of give up certain things.
For his idea of the greater good.
Yeah.
This is
His
Batman's
idea,
vision
yeah.
of the greater. So, and we see this, we have a slippery slope because the Court of Owls is the exact same thing. It's a group of rich people who have somebody who fights for them, who have secret bases all throughout the city, who want to keep a certain status quo in Gotham. So, I mean, it's the exact same thing Batman's doing.
They're
Now,
just more...
they're more on the criminal element of it, but even still, I mean, Gotham's been fairly stable for all these years. It's not like the Court of Owls wants to come in and destabilize everything and blow up the city like the Joker. They're just profiting. They're doing stuff that makes them more rich. And if somebody interferes with that, then they kill them. Right. But it's not that much different than what Batman's doing on a daily basis and what he's planning on doing here. You know, putting all of his bunkers everywhere so his family has easier access. So, we get introduced to Lincoln March, who's running for, I believe, mayor.
Yeah.
So, in comics, Batman law states that as a mayoral candidate, Lincoln March either has to die or he has to be bad. And that's just how it works. That's how we got Two-Face. That's how we got, everybody. You're introducing a brand new character who has big plans. So he's either going to die or he's going to be bad. Which one do you think it is?
I think he'll die.
You think he's going to die?
I think he'll die. Because he had the same kind of history as Batman.
Mm-hmm.
He comes from this trauma. He wants to do good. And I think he might be faced with a choice. Am I going to be a good guy, or am I going to see myself live long enough to turn? And hopefully, with his background, maybe he sticks true and he just dies out.
You're hoping that he just dies?
Yeah, if that's how it's going to be, if you can't live.
You die a hero or you live long enough to become a villain.
Yeah, that's kind of how it is.
So we see Batman overhears a phone call.
Nosy.
And they have to go, and this guy's pinned to a wall with all these stab wounds and all these knives. All these little knives stabbed in him.
Yes, so he suffered.
Making sure not to hit any major arteries or anything like that.
Yeah, let him essentially die slowly.
Yeah. So they bring up the Court of Owls, and Batman gets kind of butthurt about it. Is he short with Harvey about the Court of Owls because it scares him? Or because he really doesn't want to listen to old wives' tales?
I think because it scares him. Something that runs that deep and has been around as long as your family's been around.
Unnoticed by the greatest detective in the world.
Yeah, something like that I think scares him. because he thinks he's so arrogant. He thinks he's got this whole city. This is my city.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know everything. You know, my family's built the city, and
We
then
we
to see
see
that
him.
you didn't.
Yeah, we see him in denial a lot about the Court of Owls, which makes for some really good storytelling. But yeah, and again, is he in denial because he mostly doesn't believe in them, or because he's just really hoping that they don't exist?
I thought he was hoping
That's what it kind of comes off as.
that's kind of thing. But I mean, that's creepy of all things as you start to really kind of dive into how they are. I wouldn't want that to be real.
Right.
I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want that. My enemy living hidden somewhere in my house.
Yeah.
No, that's.
Well, and we find out that they have a lot more to do with Bruce Wayne than he currently even knows. So there's a message. It was written in like paint thinner or something, and they light it on fire, and it says, "Tomorrow Bruce Wayne dies." At that point, is Batman worried? Does he actually think,
No, because he's Batman, so nobody can kill me. I have all these weapons and all this tech. I'm good.
So he's just not scared at all.
Bruce Wayne, maybe. Batman, no.
I don't think Batman likes to be surprised. So, I mean, more than worry, I think he's agitated. He's upset. He's mad that somebody got the drop on him. That somebody's coming into his city and he didn't know about it.
Yeah, that's why he goes and finds all those underground people and starts asking questions and threatening them. And they're like, I don't know.
So he scrapes some stuff out from under the guy's fingernails. And it turns out to be skin, and the DNA comes back as a match for Dick Grayson. So what was going through your head when that happened?
The Bat family done been tore up already. That here's our big plot twist: is the bad guys is actually somebody right next to him. I thought, ooh, that's deep.
And see, it's interesting hearing like theories coming from somebody who's never read the Batman stories, because Dick Grayson's been around forever. So as somebody who's read Batman and read a lot of it, I'm like, okay, so what's going on? Dick Grayson didn't kill this guy, but why is his DNA? So like my brain went somewhere completely different.
Mine was, I knew it. I knew it.
So is this just one of those things where we know Grayson wouldn't do this, so it's fake? Or, I mean, what's going on? I mean, you already said that you kind of thought that Grayson was in on it.
I thought he was in on it just because of how secretive Batman is, and then, Dick is kind of almost the same way, and, like, he just kind of seems like, oh, yeah, I guess you got it. Yeah, you know what you're doing. You don't need any help, I guess, or you don't want my help. So I felt very, like there's maybe some tension between the two, and then maybe it was him. I just jumped to I knew it because they threw it out there, so I fell right onto it.
Yeah. Well, it's good story writing then. So we find out that even in 1888, the Wayne family was rich as shit. So they've always been rich.
Bunch of rich people.
So they built a super tall tower in 1888, which is crazy because they weren't really building skyscrapers even back then. So they go into detail about how there's all these guardians for people coming in by the river, people coming in by the roads, people coming in by like blimps and airplanes and whatever. So why do the Waynes love Gotham so much?
I mean, that's their foundation. It's where they kind of start in at. They've been able to run things since forever. Mm-hmm. They essentially think it's their city.
Yeah, but it's always been a shithole.
Yeah, well, you're the king of the shit. So
why not find another place where you can be rich without living in a shithole?
It's probably easier work. It's a shitty place. Things are probably cheaper. I can do what I want. I can buy the police whenever I want.
I don't think the Waynes are buying the police, though.
They have the money too, though.
They could if they wanted to, but I don't think they did.
I just think maybe that's where they started, and that's kind of, this is our home.
So, it cuts directly from the building of the tower to Batman flying through unbreakable glass.
Yeah, and being okay.
Yeah. He spends a lot of time talking about how the glass is made of some sort of crystal and it can't be broken. He goes, unless you hit it just right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sure, why not? Why not just say that it's not unbreakable glass? It can be hard glass and it can be sturdy glass. Don't call it unbreakable if you're just then going to break through it.
Again.
It is an awesome setup, though. Because you see him falling, and then all of a sudden it cuts to earlier, and he's chasing some criminals, and they're doing all their stuff. There's just a ton of shit happening, and as he's flying out, the first time I read it, I almost missed all the little knives sticking out of Bruce Wayne. So he's got like a little knife here and a knife here. I think there's another one in his arm. So we know that something's going on that has to do with the Court of Owls.
Yeah.
And they're after Bruce Wayne. Which comes up with another, like, crazy-ass fight scene later. The Talon's probably one of my favorite villains. And that's where I got this done. Taken directly from one of the covers on here. It's just, I don't know, it's such a unique character. And for him to be so good as to throw Bruce Wayne out of a window.
Yeah.
And actually go toe-to-toe with Batman. That kind of talks about how great you are.
Or how less Batman really is.
Yeah. When you read a comic, do you read the words first and then look at the pictures? Or do you look at the pictures and then you go through and read?
No, I read the words. I'm hooked and drawn in, and then before I turn the page, then I'm analyzing pictures.
Yeah, I find that, I read it first, and then I'm reading, and I get all the way through, and then I go back through and I just analyze the page. Yeah. What did you think of Batman driving a motorcycle through a helicopter?
Unrealistic.
But it's... it's through a helicopter, right? And Batman doesn't kill people, but those guys are dead. There's no way that those people are still alive, right? It's a helicopter. I would understand if he went into like a train, then maybe like everybody moved to the side and he was like busting through seats. He drove it through a helicopter.
Killed these people.
Right, they're dead.
Bad people.
Or even if they're not dead,
they're gonna die.
They could have died.
Died from their injuries.
So does that mean that Batman doesn't care about life? Because he could have killed... If this guy's head was here instead of here, he's dead, right? That wheel is on his face.
I think they're dead anyway. Batman doesn't care about low life people. If he deems you unworthy, then it's kind of like, if you die, then I guess fate said you were supposed to die.
So, those guys were also stealing statues. They stole them from a museum. The statues are destroyed too, right? So then what's the point of even stopping those guys? Instead of getting them in the trade, like while they're getting ready to sell them, busting them then, so that you can also save the statues. And you get the buyer.
Batman doesn't care. He was pissed off at this point, so then it's like...
I'd make a better Batman.
Enrage.
So, the guy who died was an artist. Also, how did you feel about the viewpoint from inside his body? I thought that was a nice little touch. Gross. They let you see Gordon from inside of his body.
It's just gross. They're just gross.
So
very detailed, though.
this guy, he was an artist, and he was part of a wealthy secret organization. But he seemed very poor. Like, if you looked at his apartment and stuff like that. So, for one, why was he part of this super secret rich organization if he was just a poor artist?
He must have just been chosen.
Why did he?
Choose who they want. Choose somebody poor. They're easy to get rid of.
Why did he have to die?
Because the Talon said he had to die. The court said he had to die, so he had to die.
Just because?
They're sticking to their guns. Maybe he was going to talk, but they wanted to ensure that he didn't. They wanted to make an example and maybe set Batman up to know this is what's going to happen to you, too.
Is he the one that warned Bruce Wayne? Is he the one that wrote Bruce Wayne dies tomorrow, or was that the court?
I think that was the court.
You think they were
sending
just
the message, especially if you had to
calling it
light
out?
it on fire to really get the message. I think that's kind of a detailed, hidden kind of thing.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna die, I'm not warning anybody. I don't care.
So again, we see Batman being super touchy about the whole Court of Hours mythos. He's getting real kind of sick and tired of hearing the poems and stuff like that.
Because it mocks him. It mocks his family and their legacy, that this is their city, that somebody else could be in and controlling it just as much as they are.
Right, but with all the symbols, like all the owl symbols showing up, why is Batman refusing to admit that it's the Court of Owls?
Because he's a rich, arrogant man who doesn't want to accept the truth.
That he's wrong?
That he's wrong. He can't be wrong. He's Batman. He's never wrong.
I mean, it's one thing. Okay, so the knives. Maybe somebody found a bunch of knives, and this guy's a psycho, and he stabbed this guy a bunch.
I mean,
but then they get inside this guy's tooth, and they pull it off, and you have that symbol, the owl symbol, inside the guy's tooth. So, I mean, at this point, how do you figure it out?
you don't.
I mean, how do you refuse that this is going on when it's inside the guy's mouth? That didn't just happen.
Yeah, I think he's just scared. He doesn't know what to do. He's never seen anything this sick and twisted and
Right.
deep, and then for them to have attacked his family before, you know.
Yeah, so this was a real shitty thing to do on Dick Grayson's part, but we find out that this artist guy, this John Doe, he went up to Dick and he was talking to him, and then he grabbed him and scratched him, which is how the DNA ended up under his fingernails. Why didn't Dick say anything to Batman?
Because he's shady, too.
Like, it seems like all of this could have really helped Batman at least be ready and have his ears up. And
Because maybe he's not all that he's cracked up to be, too. Maybe he's got some hidden agenda.
You just really don't like Dick Grayson,
I
do
mean,
you?
I'm just saying, you know. I don't know. They kind of played it out that he might be, in my mind, I thought maybe he's in on the whole thing. So then I stuck with that. So anything he does, I think he's just being shady.
They play that up a lot, and they cause you to, like, not trust Dick Grayson quite a bit.
Boy, Batman doesn't even trust him.
So why doesn't Batman trust Dick Grayson?
Batman doesn't trust anybody because he's the only one in the planet that can do any good and is completely just and holy in everything that he does. He has the best intentions and nobody else does it, so he can't trust anybody else.
Yeah.
And it's very clear that he doesn't trust Dick.
So he looked under the fingernails, got the DNA. So this guy had to have scratched Dick. Then he went through and he watched the security footage of whenever all of that went down. So he already knows what happened. Why did he go through the whole charade of asking Dick what's going on?
See where he really lies. See if he was going to come out and be clean.
See if he lied about it?
Yeah.
So yeah, I wonder why there is such distrust.
And especially this is a Robin.
Yeah, the first Robin.
They've worked together. This is a partnership, so it's just weird to see that tension. So something obviously went wrong in their relationship to where both of them kind of have their walls built up and don't really
Right.
trust or not going to open up to the other side.
Yeah. It's, again, I keep saying it, but it's really good storytelling that you can have a character like Dick Grayson who's been around forever, and then you've got everybody paranoid about how involved is he.
Yeah.
Even if he's not doing anything on purpose, what is his connection to it? And since Batman doesn't trust him, all of a sudden we find ourselves not trusting him. It's really good. So we cut back to later on in Old Wayne Tower before he gets thrown out. And we see Bruce Wayne is in a black suit. Lincoln March is in a white suit. Is there any symbolism there?
Ooh. White being good, black being bad. The old color scheme. I think so. Just going off of that, as we know white to be good. So here we have this new guy who's come from this background and is trying to do good, and he's this good character who's kind of gonna meet his fate later, and then Bruce Wayne kind of tiptoeing that line between a good guy and a bad guy, depending on how strong you are to the law.
Right.
In black, mistrusting, secretive.
So, I mean, they also call Batman the Dark Knight. And then I think back to, what is it, The Dark Knight Rises? Is that the one with the Joker and Two-Face? Anyway,
Yes.
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So he called Harvey Dent the White Knight or something along those lines. So it kind of reminds me a lot of that, of here's Lincoln March who's going to go in and he's going to try to clean up Gotham from the legal side of things, and then Batman's just going to clean up at night whenever all the bad stuff happens there. So, I mean, for me, that was the kind of symbolism between the two. Of one works in the day, one works at night.
I could see that.
They also look a lot alike.
Yeah, they did. It was everyone looks the same.
Well, and that's another thing is Lincoln March is really put together. His hair's slicked back, and then Bruce Wayne's hair's kind of disheveled. And I mean, it's done, but it's just kind of
they kind of got the same build too. They're kind of both
thicker
guys.
So we do see that March knows about the court. March wanted to have a conversation with Bruce about the court. So with March knowing about the court, how is it that he knows and all he's doing is running for mayor, but then Batman doesn't?
Well, it's that old kind of wives' tale story. Everybody I think kind of knows how it goes. It's just whether or not you're willing to actually believe in it or not.
So March took the next step and actually bought into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he might have been even approached by them. I think he might have said something about it. But then we actually see the Talon bust through, and how badass does the Talon look?
Yeah, the Talon. Okay, I will give him. He's right up there next to the Joker on kind of how crazy he is.
And there was like a spin-off kind of parallel story, like a tie-in, and they had this one Talon who was just enormous.
But he's super badass with all his moves. I mean, he got in on Batman.
Yeah, and so
kicking his ass pretty good for a second.
The Talon and Bruce Wayne start fighting. Why does Bruce Wayne say that he has to hold back? Because he goes, I have to make it look like they were lucky punches. Like, why can't Bruce Wayne be rich and a ninja?
Trying to hold up the value of I'm just this kind of business guy.
Right, but he's got enough money and he's got enough spare time that it's not unheard of for him to say, you know what, I want to take a bunch of jiu-jitsu classes. And I have my own personal trainer and I can get the best trainers in the world.
Doesn't really fit the mold if you're a business guy, maybe that's what, we wouldn't expect you to know how to defend yourself. We would expect you to have team of bodyguards that are supposed to come in and save you.
I guess. I think if I was Bruce Wayne, I'd just go full Batman on him.
Oh yeah, I would have whooped his ass.
I mean, I'm not going to let him stab me a bunch of times just because I don't want to give up that I might be Batman.
I'm not saving face at this point. It's not worth it.
And also, who's watching Batman fight? And then they watch Bruce Wayne fight. And they're like, they're the same person.
Right. If you're a black belt in jiu-jitsu, then, I mean, that's kind of a standard thing for another black belt to do.
It's
same moves.
He's just really good at a bunch of different fighting styles. Which, again, I mean, if you're rich and you're just... All he does is be rich. Like, he doesn't have a job that he goes to. So then all he has to do is like, yeah, I got a lot of spare time. I have people come and teach me. You don't even have to give any specifics about who comes to teach you. Like, I learned. I don't know. It just seems like a weird thing. So when you read a book or a story, do you just read it all in your voice? Or do you like try to give them voices?
I'm kind of my own voice. That's why when I get to the movies and things look or sound different.
Yeah. See, I have to, if I don't give them each like their own little voice or accent, usually the main character, whoever it is just me because it's easier because they talk more. But yeah, it engages me a little more if I create characters. Like even whenever I'm reading a book, I'll read it and then each character kind of has their own tone. But then I also try to imagine, okay, if this were a movie, who would be playing that person? Yeah, and then I just try to go with that, whatever voice they have.
I don't get too deep into that. And if it's an actual book with no pictures, then I'll create my image of what I think they should be. But with this, I mean, it just grabbed me, so I was just trying to read to see what was going on. It took a lot not to skip to the end and see what...
Yeah. Having said that, when I read the Talon's dialogue, I always read it in like a whisper with like a slightly French voice.
French?
Well, yeah. I mean, okay, so you look at him and it looks like he kind of has a little mustache. I don't know. He just comes off as French to me.
But he can
some
fight,
sort of
so
European.
Why would he be French?
Okay. Yeah, you're right. I don't know. It always just seemed European. Also, I like how they included the butt shot in this picture. Like, he drew that. He took time out of his day to draw a butt. There's a Action Comics, which is... So Detective Comics runs parallel to Batman. Action Comics runs parallel to Superman. And it's General Zod. And he's got his back turned and he's standing on rubble. And he's, like, looking back like this. But then his cape is all blown off to the side because of the wind, and it's just a perfect shot of his butt. I'm like, why not just have his cape down? You wanted to show his butt.
Show he's physically fit.
I guess. So again, I always read it in a whisper, and it always makes it so much more creative. Now go through and think about every time he talked, and kind of have that little loud whisper. That's what it is.
It would be a whisper though. This is kind of like. I don't know, I feel like this would be like a kind of manly, deep voice thing.
Oh no, this is
I'm
definitely
to kill you.
This is a soft-spoken villain if I've ever seen one. Mm-hmm. So he goes, "How I love killing Waynes." How many Waynes has he killed?
Wasn't it just his great grandfather?
I don't know. What happened to his parents? Was his parents' accident really just Joe Chill shooting him in the alley?
Well, maybe because the great grandfather like had stab wounds once he found the body and actually like looked at it. It was like very kind of detailed, just like the guy who was hung up and stabbed multiple times.
Yeah. So Bruce doesn't know who the Talon is, right? He doesn't know what he is. He just knows he's a dude who's attacking him. And we also know Bruce Wayne doesn't kill people. Mm-hmm. Right? Batman doesn't kill. But on his way out the window, he says he grabs him and pulls him. And then he knows a secret ledge to grab onto that he's going to hold on. So in his mind, he just killed this guy, right? He doesn't know that he's a zombie.
Yeah.
So he pulled him out of a window with him. So, I mean, all this talk about how Batman doesn't kill, he killed this dude.
I don't know where that comes from, but he kills people.
He straight killed this guy.
This is one of those situations where, hell yeah, I'm going to kill somebody. You just tried to kill me. I'm not going to try and save you.
Yeah. Also, just like the unbreakable glass is broken, how about that gargoyle that just so happens to be a secret one that he didn't mention earlier?
Yeah.
So, in my mind, this comic story, this series, would be a perfect horror movie.
Oh, yeah. It's very creepy, especially when they get to the underground society. That is like...
Yeah. Well, I just imagine this scene right here where all of a sudden all you see is blood on the windshield in the ambulance and then just the two glowing eyes.
It's very creepy.
Yeah, it's insane. So issue number 3, we're back in the 1800s, and we see Alan Wayne stumbling through saying, they're chasing me, please help, you have to help me. Why didn't he just say who was after him?
Probably just terrified and probably didn't think if it's an old wives' tale that anybody would actually believe him and he'd come off as some crazy type of person.
Yeah.
That's kind of how he looks, and it's kind of like you feel bad for him. Like, this is not only like mental torture for him, but then when he actually dies, it's like he's suffered.
Even if the police don't believe him, they would have to take him somewhere, right? Like take him in to a doctor somewhere not around a sewer grate where he gets pulled in. It just... Also, he fell down the sewer grate. Did nobody go look for him?
That's what I kind of had that same question, like, I mean,
they just accepted it?
And this is a Wayne, so why is nobody tabs?
They didn't want to arrest him because he was a Wayne, and it would make everybody look bad.
But they didn't bother to go help him?
Yeah, but then he falls down a sewer grate, and they just kind of pull it back over, and everything's fine.
That was super sketchy, too. Like, dang. They didn't even try and save him.
Yeah.
They left him to die. They were in on the court, too.
Yeah, I'm not going to look for it. So we cut to a scene where Batman's fighting all these gangsters down in the subway system. And he's talking about how there's 5 different gangs for each tunnel leading into Gotham. And this whole fight just makes me want to see more of that. Like, I want to see a whole story about these gangs.
Yeah.
Because they describe them, and some of them are just like, oh, it's the Russians or the Triad. But, like, these guys have the mask over their face so they can't talk, and they have to serve for a year.
I feel like they could have gone deeper into that, or if they had anything that was kind of a sub thing.
Yeah, well, if you revisited this, I think it would be a really good story. I mean, you don't want to derail this story too much by talking about it.
But this could also set up multiple other stories. There, you just got 5 other storylines that you could do a short series on.
Yeah, I think it'd be real interesting because, I mean, if you're just going to do gangs, like I said, the Triad or just the Russians, that's going to be boring because you can do the Penguin rather than that. But whenever they have, like,
the Penguin.
Whenever they have, like, cool backstories or whatever, I like it. You don't like the Penguin?
No, I did not like the Penguin. But that's coming off of the movie, and it was just... It was so cheesy.
Yeah, that's not the Penguin.
Ugh.
He's a really good character. Now, again, this Detective Comics, the art in it really carries it. The story's a little bit rushed. I think they could have had better storytelling, but the art is fantastic.
Better than this one?
Different.
This was pretty detailed.
And see, here's... So this is how issue number 1 ends.
Ugh,
Ah.
gross. Ah,
So here it is,
ugh,
right there. You can see it. Joker's face just sitting on
ugh.
a wall.
That's disgusting.
It's awesome.
Ugh.
You gotta love it. Come on. But yeah, they really go into. They're setting it. It really sets up like what happens in here later, and you can kind of tell that how they're like, all right, we're gonna write this story, and you just have to figure out how to tie stuff in because we're gonna do awesome
Great,
things.
now that picture will be in my head.
Good. It's really, I don't know. It's crazy what people think up. And you wonder the mental health of the people that are writing.
Yeah, if you're cutting somebody's face off and putting it on a wall, maybe we gotta check you out too.
So we find out later what's up with the Talon. But how could he kill Alan Wayne and try to kill Bruce, but not go after Thomas? So we know that they're like zombies that get woken up whenever they're needed. So that's how. There's also a bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it might not even be the same Talon, even though that one said he loves killing Waynes.
Yeah.
So why would he kill Alan, but not Thomas, but then try to kill Bruce?
Maybe one of the Waynes was just smart and stayed in their lane and didn't piss the court off.
I mean, I don't know, because they talk about Alan Wayne always trying to rebuild the city, make it better, which is what Bruce is trying to do, but then he's being hunted. Also, let's go back again for just a second. Whenever Bruce is fighting all those dudes with the mask, he throws a magnet and magnetizes this train running by, and all the dudes' masks get sucked to the train. Those guys are dead too,
Yeah.
right? How many people has Batman killed?
I'm telling you.
His body count is through the roof at this
Batman
point.
kills people.
Their necks are snapped at the very
He's
least.
trying to get away with it by saying, I didn't intentionally kill them. So
I didn't
maybe.
kill them. Physics did.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the train's not stopped. They're dead.
No, he's a killer. But again, he's killing people that we don't really care for either way, so no one's going to really say anything anyway.
Gotcha. So, how does Bruce Wayne deal with his injuries or heal from his injuries so quickly?
I have no idea. He must have some top of the line doctors or medicine, because some of these injuries, I mean, he should have been dead probably 3 or 4 times.
He's got Alfred. Alfred takes care of him.
And he shouldn't be up in...
It's those cucumber
moving.
sandwiches.
Gosh.
But he also never sleeps. So, like, how with no rest ever, how is he still
And
alive?
this constant state of stress. Yeah, no, he should be dead.
Yeah.
So maybe they'll discover he's actually a god later.
Okay, so we find out that the Owls are targeting Bruce and March because they're reshaping the city. They're trying to make it a more prosperous city, a safer city. Why wouldn't the Owls want a rich city?
Well, they have control in the chaos. If you have a rich city, then you're kind of losing your grip. If everybody's kind of in this, oh, woe is me, and this is all we can ever be, they've got it unlocked. But as people expand their mindset and grow as a person and financially, well, then the grip just slips from them.
So it's more about control than money.
Yeah.
They just like the idea of being able to control poor people.
Yeah, they're in the shadows. This is really our city. We'll let you think all day long that it's yours, but really, this is ours.
Yeah. That makes sense. I guess they're already super rich.
Yeah, rich people don't... I mean, it's just like the Joker when he set all that money on fire in the movie. I'm doing this not because I need money. This is the shit I like. We're just crazy. We don't need money.
That is true. And we find out how crazy they are
Super
later.
crazy.
So Batman says that cities are very superstitious. He then explains that it's because small country villages are superstitious and they traveled to the city. Are you superstitious at all?
Growing up, I was. If I was driving with my mom and there was a black cat, we had to completely change our direction and go out of the way to not cross the black cat. If you broke a mirror, it was the end of the world. There was 7 years guaranteed bad luck.
Jeez, you really were, weren't you?
And as I got older and realized it was all a bunch of shit, I'm not so much anymore. But that's just the control parents have.
Yeah.
As a young mind, that's when you really need to be pushing the right ideas. Otherwise, shit's gonna get lost.
So in Batman's world, in this comic book, magic's real. There are gods that are alive and walking the earth. There are demons. There's all kinds of crazy supernatural stuff going. So maybe instead of calling them superstitions, like maybe there's something to it.
Yeah.
Right? So then why is he so down on superstition? You can't say, oh, people are superstitious and they believe in curses and stuff like that. But then there are like witches and gods and stuff like that roaming around. You're friends with somebody who was created to protect the gods, an Amazonian. I mean, you're also friends with an alien who has godlike powers. And so you're going to sit back and then just say, yeah, these are just superstitions.
Yeah.
There's got to be something to it, right?
There's something deeper, but maybe because they hide behind the superstition, that's maybe why he hasn't accepted it for what it truly is.
Yeah, maybe. It's, I don't know. I think Scott Snyder was also just trying to write this in a vacuum, like separated from all the other stuff. But yeah, it just seems kind of weird that he was dogging on them for that. So we also find out that the Owls built headquarters inside the Wayne's buildings. All the Wayne buildings that they've had.
That made me start thinking about my house.
Secret walls.
Make sure I got my doors locked. I thought that was super creepy this is somebody you're going to kill and you're going to live inside. I think that's more of a mental thing to kind of scare people. So
my parents, before... It might have been right after they had me. They lived in this house, and it was a really big house. I think they were just renting it. But they were hearing, like, these noises from inside the wall. And so my dad went up into the attic, and he found this empty space where it was almost like a small room, like a real small room. And it was just in the wall.
Like a crawl
it had been like it had been like walled off.
Ew.
So if you had like a washer, just a washer and a dryer, like stacked on top of each other in a room, it's like they took that out and then just put drywall over it. Well, somehow like a cat had gotten in there and like had kittens. So like that's where it was coming from in the walls. Like, so there's all kinds of weird shit like that. Yeah. Okay, we're back. So they've been building all of these. The court's been building all these rooms and secret bases inside of Wayne Towers, which seems to be a very ballsy move. But it's also, true. How do you keep this a secret from Batman?
That's what I'm trying to figure out is how do you build in somebody's house and them not know? Like, they must just have massive houses. They must never be there because
it's in
hard to get in there.
It's in the buildings, like all these buildings that don't have a 13th floor because of the superstitions. Mm-hmm. So it's just a void. But you would think, I mean, there's some big stuff in there. How do you move all this stuff in
without anybody knowing?
Yeah. I mean, I guess
at night.
Magic of comic books is just it's automatically there. But like the giant owl medallion on the back. On that back wall.
Some detailed work to be put in.
Yeah. So is it arrogance on Batman's part, or are they just that good? that they could sneak all this in under his nose.
I think it's a combination. He didn't believe in it, and maybe that's one way. But then there's some creepy people, and they found some kind of way to get it in. So I think that's kudos to them for building within some rich guy's house.
So how about this creepy ass picture from 1891? It's the beauty of the owl mask is that it's just so simple.
But so,
and I think it's the fact that it takes away like all humanity from a human form that makes it so creepy. But yeah, it's
these are no longer
it's
at this point.
super fucking creepy.
And then they take kids too.
Yeah, it's the whole family. That's what's crazy. It's the whole family. So we just really need this to be a horror movie. Like, done right. Like, go full-on horror movie.
I mean, once they get into the underground, that whole area is your movie right there, just with the whiteness of it.
I think it needs to be at least a trilogy. And I think it needs to be as creepy as possible.
It's already creepy. Look at this.
Yeah.
It almost reminded me of The Purge.
Yeah. Just rich people wearing masks.
And just doing the worst of things.
It is crazy. So we find out that Alan Wayne set up a trust fund for young architects. And each building that was built under the Wayne Fund is now one of these owls' nests. So the owls have been using Wayne money to further their own goal.
They didn't have to build it.
Yeah, they didn't have to do anything.
Just off of it.
So this brings up the question, was Alan part of the owls and he just got on their bad side? Or did they just take advantage of him?
That's a good question. I can kind of see it now that you said it like that. Maybe that's why he didn't want to say anything like who was after him, because I don't want to be
right.
I don't want anybody to know I was with this association.
Because we have seen the owls kill their own. They killed that artist who had the owl symbol in his tooth. So they will kill their own people.
That's sad. Now I'm kind of thinking, maybe he was in on it. I mean, that would also explain why they have their nest everywhere. I mean, he probably had a designated area for them, and then so you don't.
Have the owls been active this whole time, or have they just been laying dormant and coming out only every once in a while?
I think they've been active. If this is definitely their city, if they've been around as long as they have, they're not just going to lay quiet. I'm sure they have their hands in things, keeping that superstition going.
So the most recent building that the owls built a nest in was 5 years ago. And this is significant because, remember, the New 52 started 5 years ago. And not literally 5 years ago, but whenever this issue started, Batman's been around for 5 years. So, as soon as Batman comes around that same year,
that's when
the owls build a new nest. So, are the two, linked together, or?
Yeah, you can't. I mean, you can't have a good guy and not have a villain.
Did they just reactivate themselves whenever Batman showed up? Like, were they just kind of coasting right up until then?
I mean, I'm sure they were just chilling and making their money, doing their crazy shit, and then Batman comes along, and now it's like, let's remind him what really goes on.
So we end that issue and start issue 4 with a giant explosion. Batman hit a tripwire. And then he goes into this explanation about how tripwires are made more to scare people than anything.
You just got your ass blown up.
Yeah, I don't know that that's true. I think tripwires are made to kill people.
Again, he should be dead there,
But this is a very un-Batman move of Batman.
to get caught up in something like that.
Yeah,
Like to
so
get blown up.
so are they in his head? Are they making him sloppy?
Oh yeah, they're very much a psychological villain than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing with your head. They're making it seem like they're coming after you, and then when they do finally put their actual hands on you, it's like slow and torture. They're some fucked individuals.
So the entire floor explodes. Batman's his way out of it.
Somehow.
Because he's the main character. Whenever you're the hero, you don't have to worry about dying. So after he gets out, he goes back to the Batcave, and there's a conversation that Dick Grayson's having with Alfred, and it turns out that Alfred has been drugging Bruce. He's been giving him all this extra medicine to make him go to sleep. Could this also play a part in how sloppy Bruce Wayne's been?
Because he's not.
Because Alfred's been dosing him.
He's been drugged, so he's not fully with it. It could be if he's used to, not sleeping and he's in this constant state of stress. And now all of a sudden his routine has changed. It could. I don't know. Maybe some people don't need that sleep, so then when you get it, it's kind of like I can run on 4 or 5 hours of sleep, but if I get 8 somehow, it's like I've been drinking a bottle of Jack all day and I'm just out of it.
Yeah, that happened to me earlier this week. I got a really good night's sleep, and then I woke up at like normal time, but I was just dragging all day.
Yeah,
like I should have woken up an hour earlier. It's crazy how that works. So even after all of this, Bruce Wayne still doubts that it's the Court of Owls.
And now we go full on arrogance. And he's just butthurt that he got his ass blown up, and that there's this secret society that's been under his nose the whole time, and no one's caught on to it, and he's in his feelings, being a typical male.
Yeah, we also see that he exhumed the body of Alan Wayne.
Yes.
And he's looking at it, and he notices that there are nicks all over the bones, and he's still saying, so the official cause of death was drowning, but now he's saying that he died the same way that the artist died.
Slow and painful.
Yep. In a sewer.
All this and still.
Yeah.
No, they're not real. All right.
So Dick says Batman's obsessed and may not be seeing the forest for the trees. How right do you think Dick Grayson is?
100%.
That he's just too far in his own head?
Yeah. Overanalyzing. I mean, they're obviously real, but because he hasn't accepted it, and he's trying to come up with 50 other situations on how this is all just a coincidence or something else. Yeah. He's losing it. And that's where the owls come in, and it's this whole psychological game of we're just gonna fuck with you mentally until you snap, and then we're gonna come stab you 500 times and watch you die slowly.
So Dick brings up the John Doe that was murdered, and then he starts talking about why the guy was so important, to show why the court's so dangerous. What I don't understand is if he knows this guy was linked to something bigger and that the guy is dangerous, why didn't he tell Bruce until after the guy was murdered?
Because they have that tension between them. Something happened and they don't either like each other or they don't trust each other, and that's kind of one way, or maybe Dick really is in this kind of society and he's just trying to play that pawn piece.
Right. So, how much of, as of now, how much of all of this can be laid at the feet of Dick Grayson? Like, how much of all of this is Dick Grayson's fault?
The artist dying is his fault. That guy, sought him out and he kind of brushed it off. And then he didn't say anything about it until, his DNA is found. So it's kind of like, I don't know. most of this you could have, spoken
Yeah.
about a couple hours ago, and we could
Yeah.
have been better off.
Yeah, and then Bruce Wayne goes into this big long story about how he searched for the owls and how he couldn't find them.
Yeah.
But it seems like he's basing most of this on him not being able to find the court while he's a child.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I couldn't find him when I was 12.
So they're not real.
And I tried every once in a while after that. But, never really looked into it because the first time I looked when I was 12, I didn't find him. Bruce does say that there were signs that the court was around, warning the Waynes. Do you think they killed Bruce's parents? Excuse me.
I want to say no, just because of how they died, and if you look at everyone else who the court has killed, it's kind of been through torture. This kind of just seems like a mugging gone wrong, but that doesn't mean that they couldn't have tipped him off.
Yeah, is some of this Bruce's fault for killing the shit out of that owl with a bow and arrow and then stomping on the eggs?
I mean, I definitely feel like I think they're just after the Wayne, so he's just kind of in the line of fire, and then the things that he's done has not helped his case at all.
I really like this flashback and how it's just like little slim panels, and you don't see a whole lot, and everything's kind of off color, so it all seems kind of odd. It just really adds to the creepy vibe to the whole story. And it also just makes you question everything, because he's finding all of these symbols everywhere. He's searching for stuff, and he never finds it. What I don't understand is that whenever he does go into this secret room that was in the back of this house behind the owl symbol, there's a table and chairs set up. It's clearly not a dining room. There's no other entryway in other than this hatch to get in there. Why would this table not be proof that that the Court of Owls exists? Like, if I were a 12-year-old, I'd be like, oh, this is definitely like a meeting room.
Yeah.
So why, seeing an empty table, would you not just be like, oh, maybe they have a different spot now? It is an abandoned house. Like, I don't understand how the conclusion was, oh, nothing happened. And then he gets locked in there.
Yeah.
And stuck. So, I don't know. I think maybe the author got kind of lost on this little thread and kind of had to get himself out of a hole. Well, and that's a real thing, though, is who knows how long this flashback was supposed to be and what had to be edited out.
Yeah. That
would have explained it a lot more.
They just kind of brief and keep it moving.
Because, I mean, whenever we made our comic, if we would have just made it the way that we wanted it to be, it'd be 50 pages long. And, I mean, we'd still be working on it. But, I mean, you have to edit down and you have to just keep what's most important to it.
Maybe they're leaving it up for the reader to decide.
And it could be.
Let you bring in your own perspective and point of view to see. I always go down the wrong way when they do these kinds of things.
So, when Bruce said he was seeing signs everywhere as a kid, was this just him wanting to see the evidence?
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, you can see owls wherever you want to see owls if you are looking for owls.
Yeah. If you've got it in your mind that this is what it is, then everything you see is going to try and... It's like that confirmation bias. Everything you do is trying to confirm what you want. I mean, he's young. His parents were just killed for no reason. He wants answers he's not getting, and he's so... In his mind, he's going to make something
He wants it to mean more than just wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah.
So now that he's an adult, isn't it just the opposite side of the coin? Where all of these signs are being thrown in his face and he's just ignoring them because of his confirmation bias?
Yes.
I've already decided these aren't real, so no matter what evidence you give me, they're not real.
Yep.
And I mean, that can be...
That's why he got his ass blown up.
Well, and in any case, that's more dangerous than just assuming that you're seeing stuff. Because if I'm assuming that all of these are signs, then I'm always on guard. I might come off as crazy, but you're not going to sneak
ready.
up on me. Yeah.
I'm
Right.
primed and ready to
What
go.
was the movie where the guy said, just because I think everybody's trying to kill me doesn't mean that they aren't? I mean, being paranoid keeps you on edge. Yeah.
If you're in that state.
So the fact that they're a faceless organization makes the owls much more dangerous, right? So
Yeah, 'cause you
there
don't know
is
exactly who you're dealing with.
well, and as of now, there's not like a leader. It's just people who are part of it, and they might meet up wherever, and they do who knows what. But it's not like, we are ISIS, and here's our stance. These guys stay in the shadows. There's no real way to like track them down or trace them.
They're the most dangerous type because they don't come out and necessarily want
Right.
anything. They're just fucking with people because they feel like
Yeah.
it.
So they're after Bruce Wayne because he wants to disrupt the status quo of the city.
Yeah.
Do you think the court ever interferes with villains trying to upset the status quo?
No.
So say Two-Face gets real uppity and wants to like take over, sex trafficking. But then the court's involved in that, and so
No. Because I feel like if the Joker is introduced, I feel like the Joker is just... I feel like he would be the type of villain who's like, fuck you.
yeah.
You do your shit, I'm finna just bring everything down, and if you go down with it, then so
Well,
be it. It's
and in
my
that
mind,
case, wouldn't the Joker be just as dangerous as Bruce Wayne?
man. Oh, the Joker is. He's the most dangerous thing.
I mean, to the Court of Owls, to their way of being.
Yes, but he's psychotic and kind of flip-floppy, so they can catch him when he starts to go on his little thing.
Do you think the villains know about the court?
I feel like if it's one of those kind of wives' tales, superstition things, I think everybody knows about it. Now, whether they believe in it or not is kind of up to them, but it's probably known.
Yeah.
And, I mean, if you have a Talon that comes out and is going to headhunt you, I mean, something like that might keep me in my place.
So, we saw that Alan Wayne was pulled into the sewer earlier. So he was missing so long that they couldn't ID him afterwards. They knew he was down there. We saw the police looking down and talking about him being down there. Why did it take so long for them to find him? Knowing what we know as of now, not what we know later.
I think they didn't give a damn. I think this was the later years of his life, and he was kind of looking like he was going off the deep end. Why are we going to go hunting for somebody?
In their mind, it was an accident. Like, he fell down an uncovered manhole.
So if it's an accident, that's just, we're going to chalk it up as it was an accident. We'll find it.
And they just assume he, washed away? I mean, that was one thing I just didn't understand is, like, there wasn't, like, a search party. Yeah. I mean, this is the guy in Gotham.
Wayne, and as rich as he is, there's nobody... I mean, that just goes to show you that money doesn't buy you everything because nobody clearly gave a damn to go look for him.
Yeah. Well, and Batman also talks about how they ID'd him from the fillings in his mouth. That's how they ID'd Alan Wayne.
But then how did he end up with a body and going through and doing...
He went and dug him up.
Oh.
So, CSIs back in the 1800s could identify somebody by their fillings, but they couldn't see nicks all over the bone. They didn't see puncture wounds and stuff like that.
They just knew you by your teeth.
Or was the coroner in on it?
I mean, everybody can be bought.
Yeah.
I mean, I can be bought. In my class, we had to pick a topic, and your topic is essentially the whole class.
Mm-hmm.
And I had first pick, so I chose something that everybody wanted. And this girl was like, "Well, my topic's gone," and I said, "I could be bought." Didn't work out, but whatever.
Yeah. So Bruce is down in the sewer because he noticed some sort of chemical or dust or something. And then the Talon sneaks up on him.
Talon is crazy.
How much of a badass do you have to be to sneak up on Batman?
Super badass. And I mean, he's just one of those... I mean, he's almost up there with the Joker. Obviously, I feel a type of way about the Joker. So nobody will ever beat the Joker. But I mean, this Talon is like right up on it.
Yeah.
To sneak up and just essentially whoop his ass the whole fight. It was... I mean, it's pretty obviously that he should have won.
Yeah. Well, and so he sneaks up on him, takes him down into this giant marble maze. And the three owls up there on the screen really are giving off like a huge Purge vibe. Yeah.
And you don't know like how old they are, what they look like, anything. You just see this weird random face. Yeah, it's very much, that's the vibe I got. And I was like, when did this come out? When did the Purge come out? Because that's what I mean. I didn't like the Purge because of this kind of stuff.
How creepy it was.
Yes. And how true it could be.
So, in issue 5, it opens up. Batman's been missing for 8 days. Would the first assumption be that he was dead or hurt or missing? Is that what everybody's just assuming?
I think it's, I mean, obviously, if they're putting the symbol out and he doesn't come out, that something is going wrong. And it's like, he's been gone for 8 days. And I was like, and nobody's found him? Nobody's bothered to figure out what's going on? Don't they smash the thing too? Or turn it off?
Yeah, but then again, Batman does leave Gotham sometimes. So, as secretive as Batman is, he wouldn't tell anybody that he was leaving, would he?
No.
So, like, if I had to track Two-Face down in China, I'm not going to tell anybody, hey, I'm going to China for a couple days. Don't worry about me. No, I'm just going to go.
I mean, I assume Alfred would know what's going on. I figured he's the only one that actually knows what's going on throughout everything.
So we do see that the Bat family is kind of taking over and picking up the slack, but also, obviously, they're going to be worried about him. And we see that Batman is still in the maze, and he's kind of going crazy.
Yeah, and he looks...
Yeah, like crazy. one of his little eye screens has popped out, and so you just see his eye bulging.
Like reading it, like I didn't even want to like look at the picture because it just looks so crazy, and you just felt bad for him. Like,
yeah,
he's really going through it right now.
Well, and then you see there is a water source there, but it also seems that the water source is drugging him and adding to his hysteria. What do you do at this point? You know you have to have water, but the water's probably also drugged and making you go crazy.
Small sips.
Do you die of thirst or do you microdose?
You drink your pee. And when you can't produce anymore, then that's it for you.
It's rough.
You scream, come fight me, and then you die with honor.
Yeah. So he's wandering around, and he wanders into this room with like this old-timey camera, and it just takes a picture of him. But you see all of these pictures of people.
Victims.
And it's not just a picture. Like, each picture isn't a person. It's like a person through the progression of their life and slow death in this maze.
It's creepy, and it's dark.
Yeah.
Who would do such a thing?
Yeah, you just see like the guy slowly like getting more and more and more.
It's awful.
Rotted away.
What a way to die.
So what's the point of killing people like this?
Sending a message clearly that this is not a group that you want to fuck with because it's not a way that you want to die. It's nothing. Yeah. It's not a quick death. It's a slow, drug out, painful. They want you to feel every ounce of pain kind of death.
So is it a dominance thing, or is it a we're rich and we can do it sort of thing?
I'd call it dominance. Being rich just is a side piece that you get to have. think it's very much we are dominant, and this is our city, and we're going to remind you, and you're going to know it all the way up until the end that you never really had any kind of control.
And so he's walking through this maze. He breaks the camera, turns around a corner, and he sees a group of the owls standing there, and he's chasing after them. But then whenever he gets there, there's nobody there. We keep seeing the Talon in the background. Is the Talon toying with Batman because he can't win in a fair fight? They have to get him crazy and drugged up. And...
No, I think the Talon one-on-one straight up would whoop his ass. But they're just fucking with him.
Yeah.
Because they're getting an enjoyment out of it, and they're just messing with his head, and they're just watching him slowly go mad and die, and they're just playing with him. Yeah,
so it's all just
it's one big game for them. Game. It's a show for everyone who's watching.
Right. So what did you think of like the pages turning, like rotating?
I mean, I was like, I gotta turn the book. I thought it was maybe giving a different point of view, or just trying to engaged.
I think it's supposed to emphasize how crazy he's going, and his world's just slowly turning upside down. It is a bit like you get to a point you're like, wait, which way am I supposed to?
Yeah.
And you forget.
It's just also creepy. Like, I mean, look at all the artwork.
Yeah, and there's like a ship sticking out of a marble wall.
It's crazy. You don't really, your mind has so much to try and focus on and look at. You're kind of like.
Well, and that's the thing is the imagery in all these pages. So you have like the marble layout of Gotham. You have all the names written on the wall. Then you walk into this room and there's all of these coffins laying on the floor or built into the floor. There's a wooden boat with an owl on it sticking halfway out.
It's very creepy, and
yeah, it all just adds to it because nothing seems to make sense.
Like, I would never want to piss these people off. Like, I would be doing whatever to try and stay in good grace with them.
Yeah. And then you get Godzilla view of Batman from inside the Marble City.
I think it's going back to the price that we talked about earlier. I mean, this is a lot of detailed work, and I mean, I think it's worth the money. I think the story is good, and I think the artwork, I mean, this is some shit that takes some time. I mean, I'm trying to draw cubes right now, and it's taking me 2 days to draw like 6 cubes in the perspective that I want. So, I mean, this is a full-fledged novel almost.
So, at the very bottom of this page right here, we see the last name Gordon. Are these names of owls, or are these names of victims?
Ooh, I didn't even catch that one. Damn. Gordon's in on it.
Well, okay, so his name is Jim Gordon. This is not the ending, the last 3 letters of Jim.
Gordon.
So, does that mean that the Gordons have been in Gotham for just as long, and that...
They're all... It's like chess. They're all pieces. They all play their certain role. They all do certain things.
Were Gordon's ancestors killed by the owls, or were they part of the owls?
In my mind, I'm going to say they're part of it just because I want this big, giant, super group of psychos and all these deeper meaning pieces.
Gotcha. So, at a certain point, Batman says, "Stop it, Bruce. I'm not listening." Is this like an actual psychological split in Batman's psyche?
Yeah.
Like he is starting to see Bruce Wayne as somebody completely different than him now?
I think so. I mean, I think everybody on the outside looking in would view them as 2 different personalities and identities. And I think maybe in his own mind he's finally accepted that they're 2 different people, and it's kind of like when you go the mind versus the body is kind of how I would look at this. Is they're 2 separate things, and one will always be able to override the other one, hopefully. Yeah. I think this is kind of the situation he's in. He's trying to regain control. He's losing it. He knows he's losing it, he's trying to get his power back, his dominance back. So he's telling one, fuck off. This is what we're going to do because now we're in survival mode.
Have you also noticed that throughout all of this, his cape keeps getting longer and longer and longer?
I didn't notice that.
And enormous. Is that just like a metaphor for him being
the darkness
slowly
consuming him?
Well, I was thinking like slowly dragging him down.
Essentially the same. The darkness overcoming him, or his cape, everything's pulling him down. Either way,
right.
He's going down. He's a sinking ship.
Yeah. So on the coffins, we see pictures of children.
Sad.
Are the owls recruiting these children to be Talons?
To that kind of way? I mean, you got to be a special type of crazy to go and recruit a child. But then that could be our westernized point of view of we
right.
view children as these little angels who should not have to be in these situations.
Yeah.
But shit, if it's a body that you're looking for, here's one, and it's in a child's mind, we can shape and form it while they're young to be whatever we want it to be, and hopefully they stay on that path that we've set. So
right.
I mean, that's tough. That I don't like people who go after kids. So I was hoping it would be something different.
Yeah.
But we know how the world works.
So Bruce finds that ship sticking out of the wall. The owl like turns its head. He goes back into the room with all the pictures. The camera's back where it was, even though he had destroyed it earlier. He's seeing his parents. He's, all of this stuff's happening. How much of this is hallucination and how much of it's real?
I think seeing his parents, he's definitely on another level. The camera, somebody's obviously in there with him when it's just putting it back. They're just trying to keep it going, and I don't know. I thought it was super messed up that they brought the parents in, and he was like, you guys. I think that kind of also let him know that, hey, we got to get back to it because we're about to die.
Well, and then we get just a shit ton of nightmare fuel whenever the owls shoot out of his mom and dad's face.
Gross.
Like climbs out of their throat.
It's gross. It's very
horror
movie.
Me
of Saw.
Horror movie right now.
Not just so much as horror, just as pure, just gross. Why are we even going this way?
Also, if you look at, Batman is slowly turning into an owl. Like he puts his hand down and it's a claw. You see his feet turn into claws. He's just slowly...
It's becoming the very thing that's killing him.
Yeah, look at his hands.
He looks crazy. That's a good picture.
Yeah, where the talon's behind him. And you see he's still got the owl talon there as a hand.
He's just suffering.
It's going insane. And then there's that one. That one's an awesome picture.
It's creepy. Look at him. He's turning into him. So, it's very sad to see.
Yeah, it is.
See him go this way.
Well, and you had the same feeling whenever we were reading Thor. That Thor just kept getting beat and kept getting beat and kept getting beat. And it's not a situation you're used to seeing this hero in. Like, Batman's usually on top of it. He's usually way ahead of the game. He knows what's going on. Nobody gets the upper hand on Batman.
Yeah. Oh, the Thor we just read, where there was a 3.
Yeah.
That was tough to sit through, yeah.
Okay. So, Batman in issue 6. Batman is to be killed and put on display. And they say this is an honor given only to 3 others. But they never tell us who those 3 others are. I want to know who the 3 others are. See, they almost need to just have like an old school story of like the Court of Owls in the 1800s.
Yeah.
And just work up from there.
Deal with Alan. Maybe he was one of those. Maybe it's 2 other Waynes that we didn't know about.
Yeah, maybe. But we see the Talon come in. The Talon starts fighting him, whooping up on his Batman counterpart. And this is kind of where we start to see how crazy the court is.
How crazy the court is and how human Batman really is.
Yeah. But we see that all of these people are just kind of looking down on this scene, and obviously Batman's hallucinating a lot of it because they all look like owls. But even kids are in on this.
Yeah, and that's what makes it, I think, that's what takes it over the edge for me, is now, this isn't just adults.
Yeah.
This is kids that you're training.
And they said, let the smallest one decide how he dies.
And that was...
Yeah.
Ugh,
Now...
that was tough.
Now, ironically, it's because of how much of a sadist this little girl is that Batman lives. So, by her saying, I want him to suffer some more,
Yeah,
that gave him a chance.
and that was what was really hard for me. It was like, all these kids that they have are just so far gone now that even if they were to be saved, I mean, it would take a lot to save them.
Well, and that's the thing, too, is all of this stuff's crazy, but you don't know how much is real, how much isn't. Like, how much of this is actually them beating up on him? Because they all jump down, they all swarm him, but he's also seeing them as owls. So are they actually there? Are they actually attacking him?
Oh, when they were feasting on him because
Yeah.
they thought he was dead. I thought that was disgusting.
And then he turns into this giant super bat.
Yeah.
And throws everybody off. So, I mean, is this the drugs wearing off? Is this just him being that badass, getting that last little bit of adrenaline, and then coming back? I mean, what's going on with Batman right here?
I didn't know this whole transformation. I didn't know what that was.
Well, and then he comes back and he just kicks the shit out of the Talon. But also, what we find out is the entire time we thought Batman was going insane and losing control, that he was also testing the water so that he could get a location on where he thinks the water's coming from. He was scratching the marble, seeing what kind of marble it is, destroying the camera and getting the filament out of it. Also that he could escape by causing an explosion. So while we think he's going crazy and we're like, oh man, Batman's losing it and he's about to die, all of a sudden he comes out and he's Batman the whole time. He was still going crazy and he was still losing it, but he still had enough wherewithal to try to find a way out and try to get out. He just wasn't as crazy as we thought he was.
Yeah, which was kudos to how smart he really is.
Right, and then he gets out, and I thought this was a great scene to add in there. He gets out, swims through whatever sewers, gets out into a lake or an ocean or whatever's around, and then it's frozen over on top. And so he just sinks back down. Which, I mean, we know that Batman's not going to die. Although I guess technically he did. They end up saying that he died a couple times, I think.
He was flatlining through their magic, brought him back.
So we also see that the Talons can be replaced, and that the court is waking up all of them. So, I mean, if one Talon did this to him, what are all of these Talons going to do?
It's just going to take over the city.
Yeah. So they also said he wouldn't heal in the important way. So it kind of, it tells us that, yes, they're essentially zombies, but they're not unthinking. And we've kind of seen him talk, and he said, I love to kill Waynes and stuff like that. But we know that they can also be beaten psychologically, which is kind of a big deal.
That's where true control lies.
Right. So, issue 7. This is the last issue and probably the most frustrating one, because it kind of leaves us on a cliffhanger. But, so Batman did actually die. We find out that this girl has been following him and trying to join the Bat family. And she's the one that dug him out and got him back to life by shocking him with I think it was like a welder's torch or something. She had like clamps on him. So what? I mean, I know who this is, but she doesn't come up in this story at all. So I don't know if she had a backstory. Like, I don't know where she came from. So I have no idea what all this is about. I know that eventually I think she becomes part of the Bat family in her own way. But who knows? So they say you cannot die, your wounds will heal. What did they do with the other Talon at this point? Because they had him, didn't they?
Yeah. They put him back under and
just wait.
We'll reuse him, retrain him, so that way he doesn't fail again.
Right. And so are the Talons dead, or are they just in like a stasis?
And that's what I was trying to figure out is...
Because they talk about you prime them with a chemical called like Elysium and then Dionysium or something like that. You prime them to get ready, and then you just put them in the coffin. Yeah. And then so you pump them full of something else,
so they just
and they wake up.
Medical coma.
I guess, but they can stay there for, 100 years.
Yeah. That I kind of thought that was kind of weird on how are they doing that.
Yeah. So we do find out how the court chooses people. They put an implant in their tooth, and when they die, so I guess they do die, the court puts the compound to bring them back. We also find out that the Talons have a weakness, and that weakness is cold. So I guess since they don't have like blood, then you freeze them. But they found a Talon, the Talon that attacked them, and they've got him pumped full of, I don't know, I guess refrigerant. Keep him frozen. Yeah. But we also find out who this guy is. And it turns out it's Dick Grayson's great-great-grandfather. So what did that do for you in the whole scheme of things of whether we can trust Dick or not?
Reinforce that he can't be trusted. His bloodline is tainted, and they were in on it the whole time. So just because he hasn't fully come out and said he's in the court, or he's come out and tried to be on the other side, doesn't mean that maybe he can't be brought over.
Well, and that's a good point, because so Dick Grayson was part of the circus. He was part of the Flying Graysons. And what we find out is that the circus would present candidates to the court for them to become Talon. And then what happened was his parents died. Batman got him, but Dick Grayson was supposed to be a Talon. What did you think of this fight scene where Bruce Wayne slaps the shit out of him, knocks his tooth out, picks his tooth up, and then inside the tooth is that symbol?
I thought it was crazy. Again, I thought it just reinforced what I knew, that he was somehow connected to the court, and it's crazy to see.
So is he connected to the court, or did Bruce Wayne save him from being...
I still think he's connected, but maybe there's a piece of him that's trying to hold on and be a good guy, but in the end, I bet he turns out to be some deep part of the Court of Owls.
Deep cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it finishes off, the court sends out all of the Talons, which starts up the Night of the Owls, I believe is what it's called. Or Night of Owls or something like that.
Who's going to deal with that?
Batman.
He barely got through one.
Well, now he's got a million of them. So that's another question, though, is Dick Grayson's great-great-grandfather has been the Talon since the 1800s. So throughout all those years, has he been getting better and better and better since he's been up and moving around and practicing and working out and all that stuff? So does that mean that these that are just woken up, will they not be as good? Be a little rusty?
They might be rusty, but I feel like maybe they were prepped before. I don't know. They were coated with something that's gonna make them come out and be some badass.
All right, so you were into this book?
I was.
You liked it? Would you be interested in reading the second one?
Yes.
Doing another one?
Now I have to know what happens.
All right. I'll get that to you. I think I might have it over there somewhere. I'll see after we finish this. But yeah, so what did you think? What was your favorite part, least favorite part? What do you want to see more of? What do you want to see less of?
I think my favorite part was the artwork. I just think the story was super crazy. It's not normally the things that I kind of read. I don't like to see these kind of crazy and sadistic kind of things. But it definitely got me involved, like start to finish. I was like, I need to hurry up and read faster so I can know what's going on. I want to see more with this Dick character and see what happens with him. See if I'm right. See if he's got a deeper part than what we're being led on to believe.
I think another one that you would like is Batwoman. It's Batman's cousin, who, I mean, essentially she just does the same thing Batman does, but it's a woman. I don't know how you... Yeah. But yeah, she's a lot like Batman. She also deals a lot with, should I kill this person? Should I not kill this person? But, I mean, it's really good storytelling. You'll have to get... I would suggest... I haven't read Batwoman, her actual comic. But in DC Rebirth, the Detective Comics, Volume 1, I think that'd be a good jumping on point. It'll also introduce you to a lot of the Bat family so that you know what's kind of going on there. But I think you'd enjoy it. Do you have any other questions, comments, concerns?
Concerns. This new group of owls, like, it's so crazy how they're really the true Gotham, and then how would the Joker fit in with these people? I think that would be a crazy team up
to show how they now interact with the landscape of Gotham.
Yeah. And see how the Joker works into that equation.
Well, and that was, like I said, I had that question I had earlier of, so if the Joker's plan is to blow up Gotham, then that runs counterintuitive to what the Court of Owls would want. So would the court then step in and send a Talon in to try to kill the Joker? Or if, the Penguin were to try to do something, or Mr. Freeze wants to freeze the entire city, or whatever. Like, some of these villains' plans have to run counterintuitive to what the court wants. So I would like to see if they ever got involved in kind of shutting that stuff down, even before Batman got involved.
Yeah.
Because they would have their ear on the underground. They would know what's going on.
Moving around.
Even before Batman would, so...
But then some of the villains, maybe they could be bought. Maybe
yeah.
Mr. Freeze had some great plan, but they came in and dropped a bunch of money, and he said, all right.
Right. Are all the crimes committed in Gotham committed because they're allowed to be committed? Or is it that the court doesn't involve themselves in that?
I think the court is deeper than a lot of these other people. I think it's their city.
Well, and later on they have a huge role in other stuff that happens further on in the Batman story. But it's more of what they did in the past to set up what's happened now. And it gets really crazy. But, all right, well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Comic Rundown. Special thanks to Brittany for joining me. You've already told us what you think. You already agreed to do another, so you can't back out of that now. Remember, you guys can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at The Comic Den. Also, go to teespring.com/store/The Comic Den and get some merch for our Magnus stuff that's coming out. If you enjoyed this episode, give it a like. If you like my content, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit that little gray bell, and I will see you guys next time.
Mm.